I don't have very many people signed up.
You don't?
No, there's a whole
Feel
room
like the
full.
whole place would be filled.
I know.
That's good. Are they certain numbers?
Yeah.
Okay.
95 and 93.
Or you just ride with somebody else?
No, they brought me a new one.
Oh, they brought you a
Yeah,
Okay, good.
they have a concierge service.
You should have got one of those.
No, I told them I want an SUV.
Oh, okay. This day.
93.
That's what I want.
I'd be,
It'd be fun.
Good afternoon. I now call back to order the Pasco County Board of County Commission meeting of August 24th, 2021. A reminder to everyone present, please silence all electronic devices and mute your microphones. Now we will proceed with public hearings agenda, starting with ordinances. And we have where are we at here?
P80.
P80.
Item P80 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on April 28th, 2021.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commission members. Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development. Item P80 is PDD 210354. It's for a ordinance amending the Pasco County Land Development Code. This was actually advertised as a continuance, but I do want to read into record the correction. This is actually this one was supposed to be the adoption hearing on your item in P84, actually. So this is scheduled for continuance, or the request is to continue the adoption hearing to September 28th, 2021 at 1:30 in Newport Richey. Newport Richey is a correction, it's stated Dade City.
Move to continue time certain.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, like sign. Motion passed 5-0. P81.
Item P81 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on April 7th, 2021.
Item P81 is PDD 210327. This is a comprehensive plan amendment. There's also a request for continuance. The request for continuance to the December 7th, 2021 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
Move to continue time certain.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passed 5-0. P82.
Item P82 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on June 9th, 2021.
P82 is PDD 210427. This is also a comprehensive plan amendment. It was also advertised for continuance. Continuance date is October 26th, 2021 at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
Move to continue time certain.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0. P83.
Item P83 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on July 18th, 2021.
P83 is PDD 210499. It's also a comprehensive, actually, it is a mobility fee amendment to the Land Development Code. This is a request to continue to the September 28th, 2021 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Newport
Move to
Richey.
continue daytime certain.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed 5-0. P84.
Item P84 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on April 28th, 2021.
Item P84, I'm just going to read this into record because Mr. Monaco, who's my colleague, will actually be doing a presentation on this. PDD 210353, just for purposes of housekeeping. On this one, you will be accepting public comment. This is the first of two public hearings, and the adoption, this is the correction, is scheduled for September 28th, 2021 at 1:30 in Newport Richey. Your agenda memo states Dade City, so that is the correction. And Mr. Monaco will present the item.
Thank you, Denise. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mr. Commissioner, great to be back. Where's the clicker? I'd like to read it into the ordinance. Oh, actually, Denise, you read that, right, already in the ordinance? No? Okay. For the record, an ordinance by the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners amending the Pasco County Land Development Code, Chapter 600, Overlay and Special District Areas, Section 602.8T, VOPH Development and Administration Review Fees, and map change to Exhibit 602-E VOPH Master Roadway Plan, Exhibit A, Tyndale Road, East-West Street A, a right-of-way realignment, and other amendments as necessary for internal consistency, providing for applicability, repealer, severability, inclusion to the Land Development Code, and an effective date. Okay, no action is required because this is only the first hearing. And Denise mentioned that it was September 28, 21 is the final adoption, because that's when you have to take action. The proposal is basically two pieces. It's a map amendment and a text amendment. In the map amendment is Tyndale Road right-of-way. That was in the Highway Vision Plan. I'm going to show you that in a second. And the second part is the text amendment is just the distribution of the development and review fees. On the map here, you'll see VOPH is in that area. The area to the bottom part, I'm going to blow that up real quickly so you can see that as well. What you see in the gray line that goes towards the bottom is what was existing proposed right-of-way for Tyndale Road. Unfortunately, it bisected the Pasco utilities a lot, and they need that lot not to have people coming through there, the public coming through. So they actually requested us a few weeks ago, or actually a few months ago, we can't have that for security reasons. Could you please relocate the right-of-way? And so we looked at the situation. I notified all the landowners in the area, and what we did is we actually have an improvement. It actually is straightened. It still is on the PCU property, but it actually is by having it more straightened, the linear feet is reduced, which saves a lot of money in that sense. And the lots are also still very marketable. In fact, some lots are more marketable than others. So that's this one here. And the whole reason, again, was just to prohibit public access from bisecting a utility site, because they need it now to think about the water treatment that we need for VOPH in the future. The second part of this is related to the development review and administration fees. That is the additional fee that all VOPH developers pay. They pay $400 per residential unit. So out of that $400, what happened in the original, what we passed back in January 26, is we didn't specifically state how that fee was going to be distributed. And the POG, the Property Owners Group, basically has paid for all these documents here, and it costs about $1.6 million to put all this together. So we are charging this fee and then converting that to credits. Part of that is credits for planning fee credits. So if out of the $400 per unit, half of that, or $200 per unit, is going to pay back the Property Owners Group for all the work they did in this. $125 per unit is going to fund the operations and management of the fee credit registry. I will come before you in a few weeks, actually, with a consultant that's very interested in doing this. But automatically, again, what's nice about this is it just comes right out of the fee. This is an additional fee that everybody pays in VOPH. The remainder, $75 a unit, is going to cover initially the cost for the development review that basically current planning has and undertakes. Once the $200 per unit pays back the POG, that $200 in the future from that point on goes to the Planning and Development Department. So initially, the Planning Department does take a big hit in the beginning, but once the POG is paid off, and we proceed about 10 years, that'll go back to the Planning Department. The purpose, again, is that annual operating funds are needed for the fee credit registry. The POG needs to redeem their planning fee credits. Similar to the idea in Connected City, now they're in their 5th year. We paid back half of those planning fee credits for Connected City. It was a 10-year timetable. We want to repeat that same pattern here. And the additional funds are provided for Planning and Development Department. Now, just as a side note, on May 19th, the VOPH Planning and Policy Committee agreed. They had no problem. They approved the proposed map amendment as a recommendation. They added, though, one condition to the development review fee. They wanted the Planning and Development Department to designate a special person to review VOPH projects. The Planning Department responded and said, well, we need time to think about this. By the time it went to the LPA, we explained to the Planning Commission that it was just not practical for us to actually designate one person. And I'm going to just go over some of the reasons here. Terry Pitos is here as well. Brad is here as well to talk about this in case it becomes an issue. But at the end of the day, we do not recommend a dedicated VOPH reviewer with those fees. So when it comes on September 28th, that's when you make a decision. This is just for information now and to get public input. So let me review a little bit here. The reasons why the Planning Department does not recommend a dedicated VOPH reviewer is because the unpredictability of the preliminary development plan submissions. It's going to make it too cumbersome, too difficult to implement. Government agencies cannot hire and fire like that way. You can't, you don't know when you get a lot in, you don't know when you get a little in, and you can't release people given that kind of schedule. The condition would designate only one person to handle VOPH projects. That $75 doesn't even cover that. Depending upon particular applications, there's a lot of experts in the county that we rely on. Now they're making the Planning Department to basically track everybody's hours. That's really difficult to do. Okay, I mean, they're still going to do their work, but we like them to focus on things they have to do. And the intent of receiving the review fee was to compensate for the extra work needed to operate the VOPH review, not necessarily to fund a particular position. And finally, the existing PDD revenues must be used to meet service delivery needs. So we do not recommend, we actually want you to think about really approving what the LPA approved, which is basically not that recommendation for a single person to be used in that case. So, and September 28th, this will be the recommended committee action.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions for Ernie? This is a public hearing. We have Mr. Tooth.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. Joel Two and Associates, Palm Harbor, Florida. I'm here on behalf of the VOPH Property Owners Group that I've had the privilege of representing now for about 13 years. They are the group that funded all the enabling documents and all of the substantial revisions that have been made since then. I just want to clarify a couple points. We're in support, obviously, of the text amendment, and we supported that with the Policy and Planning Committee. But I do want to discuss the reviewer aspect very briefly. But before I do that, just to clarify, under the current enabling documents, these property owners that funded $1.6 million over the last 10 or 12 years, they currently have the right to use their administrative fee credits against the entirety of that $400 review fee, which over time would allow them eventually to recoup theoretically the money they funded on the county's behalf. They have agreed, they voluntarily agreed to defer that by only being able to use half of their credits. In other words, only $200 at any one time, because they recognize that we do need funding for the fee credit registry and for the review of plans. But they're now going to be waiting twice as long to get a payback through those credits. And of course, this was to level the playing field because not every property owner out there funded this. You had 10 or 12 that funded all this money, and this was the only way that Mr. Goldstein and I could come up with for them to ultimately recoup the funding. So they're happy to give up half of those credits and defer their payback. But our thought process was that if they were willing to do that and to continue to share this venture, that because I now have one MPUD VOPH on the agenda today, I literally have 6 more engaged and in process. Mr. Hobby has 2 or 3 in process. We have a large batch coming through. We have a proposed development agreement that Chairman Oakley and Mr. Biles and Mr. Goldstein are aware of, where we're going to have one master developer funding approximately $17 million of roadway and utility infrastructure up front in VOPH. So our point is we're getting enough traction in VOPH. It has very specific rules, its own land development code provision that only applies in VOPH. The problem we're running into in the MPD reviews is we get random assignments of reviewers, and we continually get someone who's not familiar with VOPH or hasn't done one. Our request wasn't to have one person designated exclusively to sit in one corner and only do VOPH reviews and then be idle the rest of the day when they could be helping others. The point was to at least designate one that would be the primary reviewer for whatever VOPH matters were pending at any one time. They then fill the rest of their time doing all the other MPUDs, but it would provide us consistency. I think it would streamline the process. We would get more consistent review. The conditions would be more consistent, and I think it would help expedite. This doesn't require the addition of any other people. It's just simply allocating your workforce to have a designated VOPH reviewer. Now, obviously, if we get more VOPH MPUDs in the hopper than even one person could handle, then those would have to be allocated outside. So that was the request. I don't want anyone to think that the property owners were saying, we won't just quote our reviewer sitting there just doing our work, because that was not the request. So we actually urge you to consider that and asking PDD to reconsider their position, because from my look at it, it costs them zero. It costs them nothing in their budget. So that's the request. We're happy to make the concession on the administrative fees, and the property owner group greatly appreciates all your support that they've had through the years, and we're anxious to actually get something built rather than a stack of documents approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
and I watched the Planning Commission meeting, I personally don't have an issue with having a dedicated VOPH reviewer. I understand this is very complex. I think back to Connected City, Epperson, how complex it was. My opinion, and we have good people, great people, obviously on our planning team. If you kind of have that one person has that knowledge base and continues, I don't know what the planning department thinks, but I don't think it's a bad idea.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
And to go along the same sentiment, I don't think it's a bad idea either. And maybe even if they had two, that one or the other, at least you got that
Don't
consistency.
need a backup as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mr. Peters?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Nectarios Pitos, Planning and Development Department. So the Planning and Development Department does work to build subject matter experts in these complicated planning projects. We have dedicated individuals, such as the manager of special districts, which is Ernie, that you just heard from. And then down the line deeper into the department, we try to build planners and planning and zoning texts that can address the special criteria and qualities that these types of projects have. But there's a turnover that occurs over time, and it does take a lot of time to build that subject matter expertise. So we do work toward that goal of having one or two individuals who are very knowledgeable in these planning areas. But over time, that can change as people move from positions or from job to job. So that would be the planning
But
response.
you feel you can take care of that issue within the House? Within?
So long as we don't dedicate a specific person where they get mothballed because there's not any VOPH projects coming in 3 years or something.
Right.
Yeah, to echo, our concern was if you set up a single position funded with this fee, and this fee can only support 25% of a person, how do you fund the other portion of that?
Yeah.
Right? You kind of make them exclusive to this, and so, as Terry mentioned, we don't have any problem getting a subject matter expert, but right now, you'll see later, we have 40 MPUDs under review right now. And so one more makes 41. Four more is just 10% of that. So, I think want to avoid is setting where we're sliding other MPUDs that are in process off to the side because one comes in this and we have to pick it up. And so the key there is building depth in the organization to do all these through the process, but not hire a specific person for this.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I don't think that's what's being asked now, right? Joel, that's not what is being asked. From what I understood, again, from watching the planning commission meeting here, what was being said today, it's more like, hey, try to have somebody that's dedicated to that. So, when David's involved, whoever the developer may be, because there's multiple developer, I'm just throwing David's name out there because he's very involved. You have kind of a core group of people, easy to get to, knowledge base is there, instead of, and sometimes I think it'd be helpful for your team. I mean, I know you guys can shake your heads yes or no, but being so spread out, they're working so hard, but you're not, Dan, like you just stated, what you're not doing is saying you can only work on this project. Right. Terry or Brad or whatever that needs to obviously have their team member, Ernie, whoever it is, move on to another project because there's nothing to work on, they can do it. But I think just the request is, hey, let's just try to have somebody with that subject matter, expertise on this VOPH because it is so complex. That way everybody kind of knows who to get a hold of as well, right?
I understand. And we will be adding a project coordinator to the department to help us facilitate this.
That's a good add.
All right.
But anyway, the decision doesn't have to be made today anyways. This
Yeah, we don't have
is
to make
just an
that.
introduction, so.
Is anyone signed up to speak this time?
Mr. Chair, I only have 5 people signed up for this afternoon, and looking at the audience, I'm thinking that maybe some perhaps did not sign up, but I have no one signed up for this item.
Is anyone here that's signed up to speak to this item?
People were here.
Anybody who wants to speak to this item?
Or anybody that wants to speak to this item? Seeing no one come forward, then that's a non-action item. We'll move on to P85.
Hey, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Do you mind, a little while ago, there was item, give me one second here. The Ridge Road was continued. That was I think, is that P82? Is that correct? No, or no, P81. That was Tanglewood.
Yes.
Is there another item coming up for Tanglewood that's being continued? So I think I have a sneaky suspicion that 95% of the audience was here for the Tanglewood item that was already continued a little while ago on P81, just so you know.
We have a PBAS, bunch of PBAS.
Yeah, so I just want to let you guys know that that was continued, P81 was continued.
It was continued to December 7th at 1:30.
Yeah. So if you're only waiting for Tanglewood,
You're welcome to stay.
welcome to stay, but I just wanted to let you know. So you're not. You got it, guys.
All right. And it was advertised for that.
Good call, Commissioner.
Okay, let's move on to P85.
Item P85 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on July 28th, 2021, August 4th, 2021, August 11th, 2021, and August 18th, 2021.
P85 is PDD 210536. It's an ordinance establishing the Connerton East Community Development District pursuant to Chapter 190 Florida statutes, providing for authority and power for the district, providing for powers and duties of the district, providing for the Board of Supervisors of the district, providing for the district budget, providing for functions of the district, providing for miscellaneous provisions, providing for an effective date. Today, we're asking that you adopt this item by roll call vote.
Okay, do we have anyone sign up for this item?
We do not have anyone signed up for this item.
WebEx.
Is anybody on the WebEx?
No one on WebEx, sir.
Move for approval.
Second.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to this item? Seeing no one? I got a motion and a second.
Item is P85, establishing the Connerton East Community Development District.
I'll restate my motion. Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second by roll call vote.
District 2, Commissioner Moore. District 3, Commissioner Starkey. District 4, Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 1, Chairman Oakley.
Aye. Motion passed 5-0. Move to P86.
Item P86 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on June 9th, 2021.
P86 is PDD 210426. It's an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a comprehensive plan text amendment to sub-area policy FLU 7.1.52, Paul Materials, providing for a repealer, severability, and an effective date. Today, we're asking that you adopt this by roll call vote. This was transmitted on July 6, 2021.
Okay. Anyone sign up for this item to speak?
No one is signed up for this item to speak, and no one on WebEx.
No one on WebEx. Anyone in the audience wish to speak to this item?
Move for approval.
See no one, I got a motion.
Second.
And a second by roll call vote.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 1, Chairman Oakley.
Aye. Motion passed 5-0. Now we move to zoning.
Yes.
Mr. Steinsmeyer.
Be happy to read the procedures, Mr. Chairman. There are two rezoning agendas, regular and consent. Staff will present each application to the Board of County Commissioners. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended approval and there is no opposition, the application will be considered by the board without further presentation. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended denial, or if there is opposition to the application, the applicant will be given 5 minutes for presentation. The opposition will be given 3 minutes for each individual or 5 minutes for a group representative, and the applicant will be given 3 minutes for rebuttal. Any individual disagreeing with staff or Planning Commission recommendation, or anyone wishing to object to any condition of the rezoning may at this time request the petition be pulled from the consent agenda, in which case that application will be heard under the regular agenda later on during the meeting. Otherwise, all rezoning applications on the consent agenda will be approved by a single motion and vote. If you wish to speak to any petition, please give your name and address and whether or not you've been sworn for the record. These are quasi-judicial public hearings. The law in Florida is that mere public support or opposition of an application is insufficient for this board to take action. Please limit your comments to those criteria found within the board's land development code.
P87.
You want to do swearing in while
Oh, we got to
we're,
swear in
Yes.
while we got a break.
If you are here to speak on the items for the remaining agenda, please stand and raise your right hands. All right, thank you. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you.
Okay, P87.
Item P87 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on June 30th, 2021.
Item P87 is PDD 217531. It's a zoning amendment, Horner Property MPUD, Master Plan Unit Development District. The request is for a continuance to the September 15th, 2021 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Dade City.
Move to continue.
Second.
Is that was anyone here to speak to this item?
no, they're advertised continuances.
Oh, advertised. Okay. I got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0. P88.
Item P88 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on June 30th, 2021.
P88 is PDD 217546, is a zoning amendment in the name of Y Smith Properties LLC. This is a request for continuance to the September 15th, 2021 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Dade City.
Motion to continue?
Okay, I have a
Second.
motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0. P89.
Item P89 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on July 21st, 2021.
P89 is PDD 217549. It's a zoning amendment in the name of Patrick Sullivan for a change in zoning from an AR Agricultural Residential District to a C2 General Commercial District. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission.
Okay, is anyone here to speak against this item?
I don't have anyone signed up,
No one
sir,
signed up?
and no one's on WebEx.
Okay. No one's here to speak against the item. It remains on consent. P90.
Item P90 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on July 21st, 2021.
P90 is PDD 217551. It's a zoning amendment in the names of Wade and Ernest Transu and Joni Hooks. It's for a change in zoning from AC Agricultural District to an AR Agricultural Residential District to an AR Agricultural Residential District. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission.
Is anyone here to speak against this item?
I have no one signed up and no one on WebEx.
No one on WebEx, no one here to sign. That remains on consent. P91.
Item P91 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on July 18th, 2021.
P91 is PDD 217525, zoning amendment, VOPH, LAC Bailey, LLC Bailey MPUD. Change in zoning from an AC Agricultural District to an MPUD, Master Plan Unit Development District. This comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Pasadena Hills Planning and Policy Committee and the Planning and Development Department as the, with conditions, of course, as contained in your agenda packet.
Okay, is there anyone here to speak against this item?
No, but I want to make a comment.
No one has signed up on this item and no one's on WebEx for this item.
Okay.
It's an MPUD. I think I can make sure that there's a tree in front of every unit in the front. So that's just a condition of approval for me. And I think the board, can that stay on consent with that approval?
Is there a condition?
Is there a condition already on that property
In this
for that?
MPUD
I don't
would
think
do
that ordinance is done being,
Well,
It's an MPUD, I think we were working to try to make sure that was a standard condition.
I just want to be sure. So I was told this is the place where I add it.
I do not see that as a standard condition.
So who's the applicant?
So far that I've seen, so we can
We'll pull that out of.
certainly add that.
Pull it off consent.
pull it off consent.
Pull it off consent.
Okay.
We'll come back to it.
Okay. And that's the end of your consent agenda.
Oh, okay. So entertain a motion on consent items.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed 5-0 on consent items. Now we'll
Mr.
go
Chairman,
back.
on 91, I would just like to add the condition that there be a tree in front of every house.
Okay.
The applicant?
Is Mr.
Is
Chu
the applicant,
gonna
is the applicant okay
address
with
that
that?
question?
You wanna
Is
address
your-
that
is
on
your
91?
Project?
Yes, Joel Two again, Two and Associates for the applicant, Bailey MPUD. We have no objection to that requirement being added as a condition in the conditions prior to approval.
Move to approve?
Well, wait a minute. Could we also make sure that tree's put there, but we want to make sure it's put in an area that's big enough? Like, if you put an oak tree there, we don't need it in a 2x2 spot.
We're going to have you come inspect and count them.
Okay,
I'll join him.
I'll take care of it. That's no problem. Okay,
Okay. All right, move to approve?
I got a motion and a
condition.
second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0. Move on to P92.
Yes. Item P92 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on June 30th, 2021.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Tammy Snyder from Planning and Development. I present to you Ranch Hill MPUD, PDD 217534. The applicant is Alfred T. Smith. They're rezoning from AC to MPUD to allow 350 multifamily apartment units on approximately 23.16 acres. And the location map and the current zoning districts, you can see it's just on the south of State Road 52 and to the west of Old Pasco Road. Go ahead, next slide. And there's future land use. Next slide. Proposed is a rezoning request from AC Agricultural Zoning District to an MPUD to allow maximum of 350 multifamily apartment units on approximately 23.1. They're also requesting a variation on-site parking, LDC 907.1. They want to reduce the required number of parking spaces from 2.25 spaces to 1.9 spaces, consistent with other similar project approvals in the area. And here's their master plan. They are showing an interconnect to the south. They're showing an interconnect to the Orange Belt Trail to the north, which will be constructed once the trail is. And they have one access out onto Old Pasco Road. Next slide. The subject parcel currently reflects its original zoning district of AC, and it contains approximately 23.16 acres of pasture land, a residence, and some outbuildings. The Orange Belt Trail is planned to be constructed by the county within the property abutting the subject property to the north. And then once it's constructed, the subject property will construct a bike pedestrian access to the Orange Belt Trail. The Mango Hills MPUD abuts the subject property on the west and south. It received approval for a maximum of 415 single-family detached and attached townhome units. And the properties to the north and northeast of the subject parcel abutting State Road 52 are Zone C2 and IL, light industrial, and ROR land uses. Apartments are a logical transition or step down from general commercial and industrial uses to the residential uses. The LDC specifies that variations from this code may be reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission and the BCC during the public hearing for an MPUD. The applicant is seeking the parking requirement variation as noted previously. And the proposed request is consistent with the Pasco LDC and the applicable provisions of the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan. And with that, the PDD recommends approval with conditions.
Okay. Ms. Wellhite, speak to this item.
Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard, Newport Richey, Florida, 34652 for the applicant. We come with a unanimous recommendation by Planning Commission and staff, and I'm not sure if anybody signed up. I have a presentation, happy to make my presentation, but it might make sense to see if anybody signed up and wants to speak, and then I can
Is anyone
present.
signed up for this item?
No one signed up and no one on WebEx.
Okay. No one signed up, no one on WebEx.
Okay, so to the commission, thank you. I am happy to make a presentation.
You might want to call and see if
Yes.
there's
Is there
public comment
anyone,
out there that
is there
hasn't
anyone
signed
here
up.
would like to speak to this item? This is a public meeting, so,
Well,
seeing no one?
I don't think you need a presentation.
okay. Well, I will,
Well, we have our book, and it's beautiful. Yeah.
thank you,
Yep.
thank you.
You brought it.
With that, my client
Pleasure of
would
the board.
ask for
Mr. Chairman?
support.
Yes, sir.
Just a question. Bob, are
Okay.
there turn lanes coming in and out from 52 on Old Pasco Road?
Our access is from Old Pasco. We don't have frontage on 52. The commercial and non-residential has frontage on 52.
Okay.
But we are coordinating our access with the Mango Hills project to the south,
Mhm.
so that there's coordinated access, because we're both neighbors. And so we'll be doing that with the site plan review.
Just a suggestion. Where you have your pedestrian access, what is that green area right there? My contacts aren't working so well today. Where the pedestrian access is going to the Orange Belt Trail?
Can't actually read that myself.
It's in
probably a
the,
park.
it's in this corner of the project.
Right.
And there's, I can't tell what it says underneath it, but here's what I want to say, and it's something that I've talked to Mr. Pitos about and others, and we're going to talk about it again tonight at the BPAC meeting, and that is, one of the things we want to make sure we do is have the opportunity for entrepreneurship along the Orange Belt Trail, for people to come in and put in a little coffee shop, an ice cream shop, something that benefits and would be a fun place to go to if you're using the trail. So I would hope that you might carve out a little piece here. Could be one of your residents that wants to run a coffee shop or a bake shop or something adjacent to that trail, and I'd love to see it as a trail user. So be thinking creatively about a retail or, small commercial experience next to that trail.
We can certainly do that. What makes this project fit so nicely in this location is that all along 52 is non-residential. So those uses can go on the north side of the trail along 52, and they'll buffer your trail from 52 as well as being able to have those serving uses. So
Well-
I think between what we might be able to do in the future and the fact that there is non-residential already zoned up there, I think that'll fit what you would like to achieve.
Yeah, but you could put the uses in, ice cream shop, coffee shop, lemonade stand, whatever. If you're within 20, 50, 100 feet of the trail, whatever the right determination is, I don't know what that is, you can do it. And it's just a great benefit and a really cool thing to have along the perimeters of the trail, especially that trail. So-
Mr. Chairman? And I'll agree with those sentiments. I mean, the way Longleaf is set up with the Starkey Trail right there, it's a great little spot downtown. You can stop in the morning, get coffee, or even in the afternoon, get something, or even dinner, so
Yeah.
I think it would add a lot.
And I hear from people all the time that we don't have enough amenities along our trails. Once you leave the Starkey Market and Longleaf, you go all the way to Hernando County before you can buy a drink along, or an ice cream or anything along our trail. So I just want to really encourage some little entrepreneurship along the trails.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, I move approval.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to P93.
P93 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on June 30th, 2021.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jessica Kowal with Planning and Development Department, Current Planning Division. Item P93 is PDD 217520 for a requested change in zoning in the name of Pulte Home Company LLC and Curtis Law Incorporated. Next slide. Proposed is a rezoning request from AR Agricultural Residential District to MPUD Master Plan Unit Development District to allow for 240 single-family detached units on approximately 79.76 acres. Next slide. The property is located in south central Pasco County on the southwest corner of the intersection of Lake Patience Road and Purdue Drive. Next slide. This is a visual of the current zoning in the surrounding area. Next slide. And its future land use currently in the surrounding area. Next slide. The subject parcel reflects its original AR zoning district. The subject site contains residential dwelling unit and agricultural pursuits. It is in the South Market and urban service area, but is outside of the rural areas. The proposed request has been reviewed and is found to be consistent with the Land Development Code and the applicable provisions of the comprehensive plan. On July 22nd, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval. There are mobility fee credits for right-of-way compensation being proposed along with this condition. This is a picture of the master plan. Therefore, this item comes to you with staff and Planning Commission's recommendation of approval, subject to the conditions of approval contained in your packet. Thank you.
Do we have anyone signed up for this item?
We do. We have one person signed up for this item, Anthony Rangolo.
But you have an applicant presentation.
Mr. Chairman, Clark Hobby, Hobby and Hobby PA, 109 North Brush Street, Tampa, Florida, have been sworn. We only had one person object at Planning Commission, Mr. Chairman, and so I'm going to keep this rather brief. The site's located in the Res 6 future land use classification. It's in the urban service area, the South Market area where we're planning for all this growth. The client is proposing a density that is roughly 1/2 of the density that would otherwise be permitted on the site. And every property that's adjacent to the site, running for approximately 6 miles, has MPUDs or large-scale development to the west. So happy to answer any questions, but I don't see what else this site would be used for. Thank you.
Are those blueberry plants? What's on there?
Pine trees now. It was a grove.
Oh, okay.
Pine
Yeah,
trees.
I was wondering what that was.
Competition. Yes, sir. Come forward. State your name and address.
Hi, my name's Anthony Citrangelo, 20855 Lake Patience Road.
And
I
have you been
live-
sworn?
Have you been sworn?
No.
Okay. Please raise your right hand. Excuse me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed.
I live directly across the street from this planned development, and I wanted to make aware the planners that there's a potential drainage issue in my backyard. There's a pond in my backyard that loops around, and it actually is maxed out right now. There's various houses around this pond, and right now it's maxed out. It's a flat property, and if it comes up much more, it can come towards the houses. Right now, when it overflows, across Lake Patience Road and into the area where they're going to be building this. I just wanted them to plan for that and make sure that they don't try to dump water towards the pond, because it's only going to overflow it more. Want to make sure that they plan to funnel it in a different direction. I don't know if you want to see the video or not, but I did take like a 40-second video of kind of what it looks like. Does that matter?
You can.
Yeah. It's not very professional or anything, but it's okay.
All right.
While that's loading, just know that they will have to build ponds on their property to capture all their runoff. So
Okay.
they cannot add any water off their property onto your property.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they normally do that.
Okay. No video? Okay. Yeah, just, so it's in my backyard, and there is a tube that goes underneath the road. That is the location where they should focus their efforts to make sure that it goes elsewhere, not flowing towards everybody's property, because there is very little margin, and if it comes up much at all, it's going to start going onto everybody's properties.
Mr. Chairman, I think what so you're stating that there's some a culvert of some type or something that's coming under the road from that property to your property where
That's
the pond's
correct. Yeah,
located?
there's
Okay.
a drainage pipe that connects the pond to that property, and the water flows. I don't know if it works or not, that drainage pipe. I would hope so, but it does connect over there, and that currently is the escape. The reason why I know that is because when I saw it rained very hard. It actually flowed over the road in that location, and so that's how I know where the water's going. If you do want to know what it looks like, I don't know if it's possible to use the other person's map of the property. I don't know if I'm allowed to.
They have your video, don't they?
I see it.
Like,
You can
oh, it's
see
not
where-
coming up?
They hadn't gotten a video.
Okay, you can
You
see.
can email us the video.
Yeah, he'd come back and
Yeah.
rebut.
Clerk can
Come back,
explain
Mr.
it. too.
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Hobby, come back forward.
Mr. Chairman, Clark Hobby again. I don't know if there anyone else who wants to speak on this matter. If there is not, I was just going to say we'd be happy to meet with him afterwards, look at the video. We have our engineer here. We'll be happy to work with them to make sure we aren't exacerbating the drainage issue.
Is there anyone, I don't believe anyone else signed up for this item but this gentleman, so is anyone in the room wish to speak to this item? Seeing no one?
Then I just need the applicant to agree that there'll be a tree in front of every house in the front. At least, at least one tree
Mr.
per lot.
Starkey, yes, we'll agree to that, but we're building single-family detached, and the code already requires one street tree and one lot tree, so
Yeah, but
you'd
they put
actually be
that-
bargaining against yourself.
Well, I just,
I'm happy to take it to one, but we
I-
like to build nice stuff at Pulte.
yes, but lots of times I see that tree in the back and then the resident.
No, we're required to have one street and one front on single-family detached, but
All right.
understood. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
I can drive around this county and see a lot of houses that don't have
I
that.
just want to say that he's going to discuss with me, but I'm not a professional, so it can't be my decision on what's going to keep the water out of that pond. I just want them to know, the issue that exists and to please protect all the houses.
Mr.
But,
Chairman.
sir, you've also said that the water is sheet flowing towards their property.
It is, yeah.
Which means the drainage is going in the opposite direction from the
Instead of
pond.
to you.
That's correct. It's kind of like an L shape. The pond is here, and there's like a canal that goes behind the houses, and that canal connects to the road, flows under the road and into their property when it overflows. And it's
Mr. Chairman.
currently maxed out right now.
They'll-
If I
they'll
had the
figure that
video,
out.
I'd show
They'll-
They
you.
have to
but-
do
Engineer
engineering.
figure, but you are to meet with them and talk to them about it. That'd be
Miss-
cool.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
And I just wanted to let the citizen know that Swift Mud will have to oversee, and all the drainage from that property will have to remain on that property. So it will not interfere with your pond. Thank you.
All right. Pleasure of the board.
Move to
Motion.
approve with the conditions, just making sure there's street trees and another tree.
Second.
Okay. I got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed 5-0. P94.
Item P94 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on June 30th, 2021.
Good afternoon, Tammy Snyder, Planning and Development. P94 is the Causeway and PUD, PDD 217527. Here's a location map. It is just on the southwest of Lando Lakes Boulevard and Roach's Run, and Causeway Extension is on the south side. Proposed is a rezoning request from an MPUD to an MPUD to allow a maximum of 275,000 commercial retail square feet and introduce a land use equivalency matrix with potential additional uses. Those uses are office, medical office, healthcare related, light industry distribution, multifamily residential, single-family attached residential, senior retirement assisted living aggregate homes, and public institutional uses. The applicant also proposes to change the name of the MPUD from Causeway Center Commercial MPUD to just Causeway MPUD to better reflect what the potential uses would be. And variation requests from the LDC are 907.1 on-site parking. In the event the mixed-use parcels depicted on the master plan are developed as mixed-use trip reduction measures projects, MUDRM, then the on-site parking for the multifamily apartments, retail, and office within the mixed-use parcels would like to be shared and calculated at 1.9 spaces per multifamily apartment unit. Also, section 700.8, platting. The applicant requests the option to be able to submit for plat and begin the plat process prior to approval of a no improvement plan, a plat NI, preliminary development plan, and/or construction plan as applicable. Regardless of any proposed loom conversions, the commercial retail square footage shall be a minimum of 100,000 square feet. And residential uses will only be allowed on the parcels abutting US 41 if they're part of a vertically mixed-use integrated building. Here's their master plan. And then on January 8, 2008, the BCC adopted a comp plan amendment amending the FLU from Res 3 to COM. On December 20th, 2011, the BCC adopted a rezoning request from C2 and AC to MPUD. And then a comp plan amendment to change the land use designation from COM to PD has been concurrently submitted with this MPUD to allow for uses in addition to the commercial and retail, subject to the loom exchange, to ensure that any such exchange is trip neutral. As this project is on the west side of Highway 41, it is outside of the multifamily moratorium. The LDC specifies that variations from this code may be reviewed and approved by the PC and BCC, and the applicant is seeking the parking requirement and plating variations as noted previously. The PC heard the item at the July 22nd meeting and unanimously voted to recommend approval. And the proposed request is consistent with the LDC and the applicable provisions of the Pasco County Comp Plan. With that, PDD recommends approval with conditions.
Okay. You have something, Brad?
Yes, hi, Brad Tippin, Planning and Development. I just wanted to mention also to point out a piece in here that one of the things that we're doing, the Development Services Branch and Public Infrastructure Branch are working together to try and reduce the overall timelines to market for some of these types of projects. So one of the things we've done in here is we've included a deviation from our standard platting process. We only are doing that in this particular project, and we can only do it based on your approval of this particular set of conditions that would actually allow us to do that. We're going to give it a trial run, see how it works. Some other jurisdictions are doing something similar, but we're going to use this as an option to try and take a first step, see how it works out, and if it's a way to improve our timeline, that's what we're hoping for. So that's what one of those, that platting condition is actually about.
Right, okay. Do we have anyone signed up to speak to this item?
We have an applicant's presentation first.
Application's coming, but I mean, I was just wondering if anybody's here to speak.
We do not have anyone signed up to speak on
Nobody on
P94 and
WebEx.
no one on WebEx.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Barbara Wilhite, same address as before. Thank you. This is our 5th public hearing on this project. Staff is in support, unanimous recommendation of Planning Commission. I would echo what Brad Tippin had to say. We worked very hard with Mike Krabala and Brad Tippin's group to work on this platting plan issue between your 2 different departments. And I'm really happy that they want to work with us as like they do and collaborate. And I think we'll come up with something that'll bring some of these projects to market quicker. I have a presentation again, but I'm happy to answer questions. I have my team here as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is anyone here to speak to this item that has not signed up? Seeing no one, pleasure of the board.
Second?
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
But I did want to talk about one thing. If you could put up the map.
Discussion, come back.
I mean, the project's approved. I just want to throw something out there to the commissioners. On the causeway, the road that isn't going to be used, is it Causeway that we talked about?
Causeway is ultimately going to be realigned by a D.R. Horton project.
Yeah, so,
We'll do our improvements to Roach's Run. This might be what you're looking for.
yeah, so there's a road on the southern part of this project that, I don't know if that map does it justice there.
I think that's the best we have.
Yeah, that's the project.
Okay, well, I think we have an opportunity to have a really nice trail come down and connect to the Orange Belt from the southern part of this project, which is going to be down here, south of here, by Wisteria Loop and a little lower. There may be a road that we don't need anymore when they realign Causeway, so I just want to look at that and see if we can do some better with that boulevard. So I'll get with you, Terry, on that one, I guess. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. P95.
Item P95 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on July 7th, 2021.
Yeah.
Is the Caldwell Public Works. I have a PowerPoint. Oh.
Okay, so we can vacate it, and make it a trail.
Oh, sure.
Oh,
Thank
put
you.
some amenities along it, 'cause it's wide enough.
This is a PVAS non-ad valorem assessment. This is for the west side of the county, US 41. There are 7 projects in this presentation. We have Alvin Drive, Country Club Estate, Edgewater Circle, Evelyn Drive, Gulf Trace, Oldgate Circle, and Waxwing. There are a total of 51 streets for 7.41 miles. There were 902 assessments mailed out. We had 6 written objections, and we responded to them. For Gulf Trace, there were some objections in the form of a petition. We had received 117 of those from the property owners, and there's an attorney representing the Gulf Trace Homeowners Association. In summary, for both the east side and the west side non-ad valorem assessment, we have a total of 11 paving assessments, 55 streets, 7.93 miles, just over $1.1 million in total assessments. Over $220,000 will be added to the tax bill this year. And there are 957 total assessment notification letters mailed, 6 objections, and we're seeking to have this approved, the non-ad valorem approved. The east side was approved July 6th. That's it.
Okay, we have anyone signed up for this item?
We have 4 people signed up for this item.
Okay.
So we have, first person signed up is Eugene Ungeyer. And then John, I don't know if it's Pennington, it follows. So, Mr., is it Ungeyer? You can come up, please, and please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Eugene Ungeyer, and I am a resident on 12700 Social Drive in Country Club Estates. I'm here to talk about the assessed value for almost $750,000 to the residents of this area. I have 3 items that I'd like to address in this. The first item is the cut-through that was added from the Walmart into DePola Drive. This has become a hazard because people are leaving shopping carts there. There's also shopping carts that are being taken throughout the neighborhood and left all over the streets. The other hazard is people are racing through that cut through and have almost caused multiple accidents. I've seen this because I drive DePola every day when I come home from work and every time when I leave on this. DePola dumps out into Social, and it's just a nightmare sometimes going up and down the street. The second item that I wanted to address on this was the traffic light itself. I realized that there was a injury there that resulted in the death of a certain person, and that this was put in to prevent these accidents from happening. And I have witnessed sometimes before, when there was just a pass-through there, that there have been near misses. The only thing that I have to say about this is it takes an extremely long time to change this light over when you're coming out from DePola onto 19, and it's almost easier just to go all the way around, go down to the next cut through and come back up the other side. I've waited there actually 7 minutes almost one time because I got there just as the light had changed from the other side. So I'd like to see that light be made into a trip light if possible, so that there's some time, I realize that, you know, when the lights change, but there's some time to relieve that buildup, and there's been 3 and 4 cars sometimes sitting there waiting to go out of DePola. The last item of this pavement that was done had to do with the fact that I understand that this pavement was supposed to alleviate the flooding problem. Well, it hasn't. It has not done it at all. DePola still floods right at the intersection of Social Drive. Another street that floods is Country Club Estates and the corner of Spring Drive, which is the other entrance into Country Club Estates. The gully that is at the end of DePola Drive is a concrete pad. It almost looks like a sidewalk that goes into a retention basin that's behind the houses on Social Drive and the next street over. And then there is a pipe that runs underneath the road which goes behind Walmart and down to I guess it's a runoff, which runs adjacent to, I can't remember the name of it. The street that's along the side of the Walmart that's there. I can't remember what the name of it is at the moment.
Capitol Drive?
No, it's between the Walmart and where the old Kmart was. I think it's,
Beacon Woods Drive?
yes, that's it, Beacon Woods Drive. So right there next to Beacon Woods Drive is a runoff, and that goes all the way down into the Gulf from there. So the retention pond has been flooding to the extent where it comes right up to my property line. The pipe that's there is not taken care of. It used to be taken care of by the county and the grass mowed, and it hasn't been mowed, and the pipe taken care of. There's debris down at the end of the pipe down there.
I'm sorry,
But
but
what?
your time's up, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, the next person signed up is John Pennington.
Afternoon. First of all, I'd like to say, I'm sitting in the front row, and I can't hear anything that's going on up here.
It seems like it's low to me, too.
It's very
I
low.
have it.
And, you know, I'm partially deaf anyway, but I live in Gulf Trace. We recently, I think last year, received a survey from the county saying, do you want your streets repaved or not? And the vast majority of us said, no, thank you. We're fine with what we have. Next thing we get is an assessment from the county saying we all owe $4,387, and there's a lien put on our properties, so for 10 years. So now none of us can sell our homes until that lien is taken care of.
No, that's not correct.
The paper says 10 years. It shows how much you have to pay every year for 10 years. Or you could probably pay it all off. I'm retired. I don't have $4,300 that I can pay for something that we didn't want in the first place. The streets are already deteriorating, especially on my street. It's a cul-de-sac. We get these large garbage trucks that come in there. They cannot make the turn, so they have to do a three-point turn, and they're just tearing the asphalt up, and they're leaking oil everywhere. My understanding, it's not legal for trucks to be leaking oil on the streets. That's what I was told. I don't know if that's true or not. These homes are mainly retirees. We've got a couple of invalid people that live on our street. Like I said, nobody can sell their homes now because of these liens. The HOA has now gone around and sent letters to everybody that has weeds in their yard. So you're looking at about 250 homes. Vast majority of them are vacant owners. They're rented. People can't afford to water their yards. They certainly can't afford to maintain their yards. I take a lot of pride in my yard, so I do it myself. But I would wish that you would consider the hardship that this would put everybody in this community in Gulf Trace, that we have to be take the burden of this assessment. It's a pretty heavy burden. So thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Next person.
Next person signed up is Colin Rice.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Colin Rice, 101 East Kennedy Boulevard, Suite 2800, Tampa, Florida, 33602. Attorney representing the Gulf Trace Homeowners Association. Here to speak to you today about the aforementioned Gulf Trace road paving assessment. We had submitted a formal objection prior to the deadline. I do have a copy of it here for the record if you all would like, but I just want to provide you some context in what the community is experiencing. We're not contesting anything procedurally here. We know that, you know, the staff followed the code. So notice, opportunity to be heard. We're not making any of those sorts of claims today. But what I do want to impress upon you is initially, I know that the ballot went out. It was 72 yes to 92 no. So in 2018, the residents expressed a desire not to have the assessment project undertaken. We understand that the county can go ahead anyway. That occurred. And today we're looking at a $4,300 to $5,300 burden for each homeowner. This is, as has been expressed previously, largely fixed income community. The SHIP program that was alluded to in the materials that went out to the residents likely doesn't qualify for any of these homeowners. It has to be $160,000 or lower appraised value per each home. I'd be surprised if any home in this community qualifies for that. What we're really looking for here is assistance. There are several areas of concern with respect to the road work that had been done. The larger trucks in the cul-de-sac seem to be pulling up portions of the road. We do have photographs. I don't know if there's a convenient way to.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
Thank you.
Did you want to show that on the diagram?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
If we may, it's just a handful, give you a sense of what we're looking at.
Mr. Chairman,
Well, that's
while we're
active.
waiting, since he's an attorney representing the HOA, can I ask a question? Is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah, you okay with that? Okay. As my mic falls apart here. These are low, by the way, unless you get right up on it today. You can hear me good now, can't you? You have to eat the microphone as I
Mine
talk
was
to you.
turned off, sorry.
Just a question for you. You stated that it was 92 no's and 72 yeses. So essentially, it failed, and then it was, quote, board initiated with the recommendation from staff. Knowing that this was a paving assessment, you speaking for the HOA, I know you can't speak for all the residents, but speaking for the HOA, if this doesn't go through, the HOA is okay with the roads not being paved?
They're paved.
Commissioner, these are,
Oh.
this project is complete.
Or anything else? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Whew. Okay. Any future maintenance or anything like that happening on it? So they're fully completed, sorry, okay, so they're fully, any future maintenance or anything like that not happening on the roads?
Well, thank you for your question. They are paved, they're finished. The contention is that the state they're in now, in their improved state, there are points of failure. That's the point that I'm illustrating with these photographs. They are county-owned roads.
Right.
So in my opinion, it would be the responsibility of the county to maintain their state of repair as well.
Okay, thank you.
Um,
I didn't know they were finished all the
Whoops,
way.
sorry. May I say something too, since
Yes.
you're an attorney? I hope it's not your understanding of the law or our ordinance that they can't sell their home, because that's not true. And I hope maybe you've explained that to them.
I will confirm that they can sell their homes.
Yes, the
But
cost goes with the home, not the person.
Correct. What may happen is this could show up on a title report as an encumbrance, for lack of a better term. Doesn't prevent a sale.
Right, right. So you can sell your home. Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because that would be upsetting to people, I'm sure, if they thought they had to,
It passes on with the property.
yeah.
Correct.
Has anyone from our road department been out there to see any deterioration that may have happened in the cul-de-sacs where trucks turn around?
Is the call at Public Works. After we received the photographs with regards to what was considered deterioration, I went out on August 7th. And as the gentleman before me had mentioned about the oil, there's signs of hydraulic and engine oil. And that is one of the problems there. I haven't found any potholes. There are no material defects or poor workmanship, because we inspected this at the end of the project.
Okay.
So this is oil.
So let me explain a couple things that's going on. One, in this county, we don't have franchised garbage pickup. So we have the older trucks of the companies here. They won't invest in the top quality trucks because they don't have guaranteed contracts here. So they have told me we get their old leaky stuff, and we can't prevent that, I don't think. Let's see, I had another, oh, yes, but something that your neighborhood can do, and it's something that our family did when we developed Longleaf, is we made a contract with one provider. So the neighborhood could get together, it has to be voluntary, but if everyone signs up with the same garbage pickup truck, you'll only have one truck in there instead of having multiple contracts with multiple providers and having a lot more trucks in your neighborhood. And you might find out which one has the better equipment that's not leaking on your streets. But certainly would be better for you to have the same company coming through instead of having multiple ones.
Mr. Chairman, just to pile on a little bit, and Commissioner Starkey is correct. HOA CDDs can negotiate with a hauler if they'd like to, on behalf of the residents there. Negotiate rates. It happens all the time. The community I live in, they do that. They negotiate with one hauler. We have one hauler that comes and picks up our trash and does our recycling.
It's much better because you only hear one truck early in the morning, right?
So if anybody's from the actual HOA itself there, you can reach out to, if your citizens agree on that, your HOA members, so.
Okay.
But she's right, that's a good option.
Yeah.
Okay, we see a picture up here now.
I believe and these are part of the objection package that was submitted. I'll give you all a copy here today. I apologize, they're out of order. It's just a few to give you a sense, but we'll provide all that.
Nasty.
I'm sorry?
That's not nice.
So this is one of the cul-de-sacs within the community. These were actually from Mr. Emmons, who's present today. He's submitted an affidavit, so these are authenticated for if anybody's concerned about that. But this is from about a month ago, just to give you an idea what the present condition looks like.
Yeah, I would not let that company back in. I'd find another one.
And so just to give you a sense of scale, and just keep going through, give you an idea.
Mr. Chairman, which company?
We don't know.
Ajax.
Oh.
If I may, Ajax,
I meant the roads.
so Ajax is the paving company. The hauler, I don't know. I have asked our solid waste department via text here to reach out to the haulers to see what
Yeah,
the
send them
issues
the
are and
pictures.
see if we can't
Yeah.
get that taken
I
care
mean,
of.
they have brand-new, beautiful roads, and then they're putting this on them.
When were these roads paved?
The paving looks fine.
Paving's done.
When were they paved?
When was it?
Between 2018 and present, I don't know precise dates.
So it's like they're all done though.
They're done within the assessment area, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll conclude. I'll be happy to discuss, answer any questions you have, just so I hit my points while I have time. I'd like to suggest a couple of tools in your toolbox. Section 94-2 of your county code reads, "The board is authorized to provide for the payment of the whole or the part of the costs of assessments." 94-16B reads, "The BOCC is authorized by resolution in its discretion to reduce interest rates or waive interest otherwise payable on special assessments." We need your help. Our ask is that the roads be repaired and that our community get a degree of financial relief from this burden that's pretty inordinate for most of the homeowners in this community.
So this is my district. Are they getting the 25% discount from the county?
Inzicor, the Public Works, all applicable discounts have been, already been included.
And what is the interest rate that we're charging?
I am looking, just 1 second.
And this is the process for every road in the county that's not a collector arterial. So you're not singled out. This is just the way the county does this at this time, so.
3.25,
Well, that's already.
3.25.
I don't know what else.
That's
we
your
could do.
numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the lowest I've seen, so.
Okay.
And it's 10 years? Yeah, I
Oh,
don't,
it's 15 years?
so what's the annual payment?
It depends on
I
which
thought
neighborhood.
I heard them say 4 something.
The lowest amount is just over $4,700.
No, how much is it a year?
Mr. Chairman, you need staff.
Yeah.
We need staff to answer that.
Yeah, he's
On here, there's some that are $1,978.
But we're only talking about golf
Okay.
trays.
The Gulf Trace, the annual payment would be approximately $400, $440 per year.
Yeah, I don't know, that's as low as interest as we do, and that's as
That's
long
pretty
as I've ever
reasonable.
seen, so
Yeah.
I don't,
Bless you.
I don't think there's really anything we can do with that, sadly.
Thank you, sir.
All right, if I may, I'll just submit the rest of the petition for the record.
Yeah.
Move to receive and file.
I got a motion?
Second.
We have
Got a second? All those in favor,
Aye.
say aye. Aye. Motion passed 5-0. Okay.
Right, I think there's
Thank
still
you.
more people that want to speak.
Do we have anybody else speaking?
I have one person, last person signed up, which is Susan Matheson.
I didn't sign up.
You're fine.
That's okay. You'll get a turn. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm new to this. My name is Susan Matheson, and I live in Gulf Trace. I just moved to Pasco County April 2020.
Matheson, you just have to state your address for the record, and then you can proceed.
My address is 3300 Hearthstone Court in Holiday, Florida.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so this is in reference to the paving that we're talking about right now. I guess being how I just moved to here from Pinellas, I don't understand how things are done here. I thought that our tax dollars paid for paving of roads and stuff. I don't understand why we're having to pay this bill when, people can't afford it. We lived in an area where it's a lot of retirees mostly, and they're on limited budgets and such, and it's a lot of money. And, it's hard for everyone, not to mention on our street, when we were talking about the damage, I don't know if pictures were taken, but on our street, down the road, there's a manhole cover, and close to the manhole cover is a great big dip, and that dip was there after they paved it. And when it rains, the water pools there, and you can actually feel the dip when you go down the street. I don't know if anybody took pictures of that, but yeah, so we just need help with paying for this somehow. I mean,
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
I'm sure our staff will go out there and take a look at that dip. I will say it probably was, I'm not a realtor, and I don't want to give out realty law, but I think people have to disclose when you have an encumbrance like that coming, I would guess. So, that was attached to your house. That was a bill coming when you bought your house, and you should have, they should have told you about it. But there are provisions where, I don't remember what it is, but you can, Ainsley, how does it work where you can get the discount for certain financial hardships? I don't know if it works out here, but.
Yeah, if the lawyer is correct, these houses don't qualify
Yeah,
for the SHIP
it's a
program.
nice neighborhood.
Yeah.
Not that others aren't nice, but the value of the houses might not qualify for that, so. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's.
so.
Well, I'll tell you about the taxes. So, there is an opportunity in our budget, in our ad valorem, to collect money for local roads. It's called the Road and Bridge Fund, because all our money goes into silos. We don't collect any tax money for local roads like that. So you are not taxed in this county for local road maintenance. We do have a second 5-cent local option that pays for the potholes to get fixed. And we pay for collector and arterial roads, for example, Gulf Trace Boulevard. The county pays for those. But we don't collect any of your tax money for local roads. We are talking about changing that in the future, because many counties do levy a tax or a fee to everybody to pay for everyone's roads. But right now, the way we do it is, if your road is deteriorating, then it's, the cost is divided amongst the people who live on that road. So that's how we do it here.
Wow.
But I will tell you that in a total, our taxes are a lot less than Pinellas County. So hopefully you're benefiting from that.
So we do have to pay this. And they did say that it puts a lien on our house.
Yeah, it'll be on your tax bill. And is that the one for next year? So yeah, starting next year, not this year, next year.
And,
So-
and the other thing is, it's not just trash trucks that are coming in there messing up the road. It's all kinds of other delivery trucks and everything else. And the road was just recently paved, and yes, it's already looking bad in
Yeah, well,
certain
we're-
areas.
Well, and I will go drive through it, and I'm sure Ainsley will. Can you say what road that is that has the depression? What street that is?
Hearthstone Court,
Okay.
Hearthstone, Hearthstone
We'll take a
Court.
look at that.
Staff, check that out.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, thank you.
Ma'am, just two quick questions for you.
Madam?
Yes.
When you bought your house, did you have title insurance? I might have missed that.
Yes.
You did have title insurance? That's where you should be going to try to get that. Because there should have been some type of notice on the search that would have probably, should have picked that up. Next question. I noticed that there's a lot of tack lines, and Ainsley, you might even know. Are those tack lines from when the construction was done, or did something happen after the fact? Like black lines going
I
through
think
the
that's people
asphalt.
driving through those oil spills or whatever those
And when
are.
they put the tack down at the base?
Yeah, sure.
All right,
I don't
thank
even
you,
know
ma'am.
what he's talking about.
I'm sorry. That's tracking of the oil. So you have oil dripping, and then you have trucks or other vehicles tracking the oil.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is there, Mr. Chairman, is there a code or anything that says you can't leak oil all over the roads? Or there's ones that you can't set off so much pollution of smoke, so how much oil can, you're not allowed to drip oil?
It would not be local ordinance, it would be state law.
State law. Yes, sir. Give us your name and address for the record.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Jeff Thaw. I live on Windridge Drive in Gulf Trace. I moved in there in 18. I was one of the 92 that voted no for this project, which came up right after I moved in. But the point that I want to make is, when this originally came up, the assessment was going to be $2,200, $2,300, right in there. So, boy, the fact that it's $4,300 is really bad news for a lot of people, including myself. That was the original amount. It was somewhere in that neighborhood. It could have been $2,380, $2,250, and this would have been an 18. So what happened along the way that it's $4,300?
Well, I'm not going to let that go unanswered, because I'll tell you how it works up here. Ainsley, can you come up and say that when the assessment's given out, it never can go up? It can only go down. Okay, so
Yes, but I think the question, if I'm understanding correctly, is that initially it was 2,300, and then now it is 4,300 or 40, right? So what
I don't know is where that number came from. It may have been from the Housing Association, from the HOA, but that was the figure that was given to the residents in 18 prior to the approval. Now, I don't know exactly where that figure came from.
Different amounts for different roads.
I'm sure Angela.
I can't speak to that figure, but I can speak to the figure that is being presented to the board.
Right.
We have an annual contract, paving contract, which is competitively bid and approved by the board. The company is approved by the board. And we put in the quantities that we anticipate we'll use for the repaving project. So for example, 100 tons at $10, and we get that number. And that's when we notify property owners of the maximum assessment. So our numbers are based on what is actually used in terms of material and the prevailing contract in place, approved by the board.
But Ainsley, when they vote, you have that number.
I don't have it here with me,
No,
that's
no,
why.
When they voted, they had the record number.
This was board initiated.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh.
but the commissioner is right. There could have been a letter that went out that they voted down. And then when it was board initiated, the prices had gone up, and they would have gotten another letter.
Right.
Okay, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
And
We have so much going back and forth on this, but, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to try to simplify something here. If you look at the agenda memo, there are different assessments, e.g., different amounts per road in ERU. Not everything we're looking at is the same here.
You're looking at different projects?
Yeah.
Yes, because it depends on what is being done for
Yes,
each project.
that's-
Yes, sir.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So they're not all the same.
Some have stormwater, some don't, some have base, and then some don't.
Right, some may have full depth reclamation. It depends on what is done for the
Yeah,
individual
so
project.
Allen Drive, it was 1978.
Oh, this isn't all Gulf Trace.
Yeah.
This is different areas.
Yeah, that's what I mean, so different areas,
Yes.
exactly. So we have so many, we have different, we're voting on all these at once, and there's different people here for
Right.
different roads.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
you know,
we're not done.
Could
Yeah.
I ask what date was that figure arrived at?
Which,
The
current-
my house happens to be 43 and change. So what was the date that perhaps the board approved that
That's
figure?
Gulf Trace, 43.
that would have been 2019. I don't have the information. I can give you my card and I'll get that to you.
He can give you all that information, because he
Yes.
has it, Dave, he has it in his files,
Yes, I do.
so he
Let me
can
give you
correct
my
that
card.
and let you know when that happens.
Yeah, so, you can understand my surprise. I think perhaps in late 19, maybe I saw the $4,300 figure, but originally, again, it may have initiated from the HOA, but it was a huge difference, and I think by the time I saw 4,300, it was probably water under the bridge. It had been voted on and passed, I
So you know
suppose.
that in the scheme of things, 4,300 for your total charge, and then that divided out, come 400 and some dollars a year. That's a pretty good improvement to your property and a way for you to pay it back. You don't have to pay it all at one time, you don't have to.
No, I understand. I appreciate that. I understand, and,
But it helps you, and it helps bring up the community at the same time.
yeah, I did vote no, and originally, and I thank you for your explanation of why the assessment was made. I've lived in houses all over the country. I've never been to a hearing where I had to pay for the road in front of my house that was county
In
maintained.
Pasco County, we've
hate
done
it.
that for many years, and I can give you a real
So I
quick
learned something
answer.
new.
It's because in our history of Pasco County, the west side of the county over here had a lot more growth than the east side of the county. We're more rural. We had a lot more land on and less people. So the people over there didn't want to be taxed to pay for roads over here.
Ah, you did it to us.
That caused it to be the PVAS system basically, I think we had.
Just wait till your PVASs come out east. They're gonna be humongous. Because they have a lot less
I
houses
understand.
on their roads, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your comments. Is anyone else want to speak to this item? Come forward and state your name and address.
Because I got a lot of commissioner items.
My name is Richard Emmons. I live at 2809 Bramble Ridge Court, Holiday, Florida. I live in Gulf Trace, and I'm the lousy photographer, okay?
That's not bad.
What I want to know is, besides the fact that we voted it down, and then mysteriously it got passed, then, you know, so you, because I remember talking to you, and one of you others said, yeah, it got voted down, and I looked at you and said, what the hell are we all doing here? Now it gets passed, you build this, you have this company come in that you may have a county contract with them, but they have no information on their truck other than their name. You can't talk to them, you can't email them, you can't send them a fax, you can't communicate at all with them. Now, the other thing is, we bought our house in 2014. We had no problems. I'm on a cul-de-sac. Those holes were on my street, my cul-de-sac. And we get, you know, and the road's been less than a year. We were promised, we were made by a member of the board here, all these roads would last 25 years. They haven't lasted less than a year and a half. Now, we have a gentleman or some inspector comes out and says, oh no, these things meet code. They were perfectly built the way they were supposed to be. Why do we have to pay for an inferior road? I never had this problem before on my cul-de-sac. You know, you guys, I understand counties, you know, some counties charge taxes for roads, you guys don't. That I can appreciate. But I just find it ironic that I'm paying for an inferior road that was built.
Yeah, we're gonna take a look at it.
Yeah, but you're going to take a look at it, but we're all going to get stuck with the bill still. And my point is, you know, it's like buying, you want to buy a car and you want to wind up buying a Yugo for a Cadillac price. That's kind of like the way this road thing works. I guess I'm out of
You have one
time.
more minute.
Oh, well, I'm just saying that we've lived there 5 years before the roads were tore up. We never had a problem. Now we have a constant problem. That man is going to be sending people out to fix our roads on a monthly basis. Also, Gulf Trace, because of all the construction, it's now tore up. Now, we are not going to pay for Gulf Trace. You guys are on your own on that one. But it's already starting to rip up. And that's because you got all these construction. You guys are developing, which I understand. This is what this county has made its industry, is construction. I've been here since '78. So, you know, and you can't help the big trucks, you know, whether they're garbage or whether they're rock haulers. And I'm just saying that you are asking my community to pay for a road that is now in worse shape than it was before they did. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments.
I'm just saying,
Please.
we'll go out and look at it together, okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Commissioner.
Does this require a motion? Is someone wanting to speak? Oh, okay.
Anyone
No,
else?
there's a person behind you that wants to speak.
Oh, okay.
But isn't there a warranty on these roads?
I'm sorry, but I
Let's
didn't
get through
sign up
public
either. This
comment
is my
first.
first time here and I'm over here about
Ma'am, I'm sorry.
paving.
Ma'am, could you state your name and
My
address?
name is
for-
Barbara Mendes, MENDES, 6942 Old Gate Circle, Newport Richey. And I believe I heard Old Gate was part of the paving. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't so much concerned with having to pay for it because I figured that's the way the county works. But I was a little surprised sitting back there and hearing that Gulf Trace is being charged 3.25 interest, if I remember that correctly, and a 15-year amortization. Well, I have to do mine in 10 years, and it's 5.25 interest. And I guess my question is why? Why the difference in interest in the paving areas?
Well, that may be something we can take care of. Maybe.
Thought it was a lower.
Whenever a project is presented to the board and approved, in October the prior year, the board sets the interest rate. So if this project was approved when the interest rate which was approved by the board was 5%, that is what we have to present it at. For example, the project at 3.5 was approved by the board at 3.5%.
But Ainsley, is it possible to lower that to 3.25, or does that mess you up with your fund?
That's a board decision. If the board directs us to do that, we recalculate the amortization.
And
I can make that motion.
All right, I'm chair, so I can't make that motion, but
I have no problem making the motion to lower it to 3.25.
And I'll second it.
I have the gavel, and Mr. Carballa wants to speak.
No, I just want to add that if that were to happen, we would have to bring a resolution, I believe, back to the board to,
Yeah, now this should have been done at the final public hearing, not the final assessment roll that is going to the tax collector and property appraiser.
Is there a
Not to say
deadline of
that-
anything today? Does this have to be approved today to go on the tax roll, or is there still time to bring this?
This is next.
Ms. Chairman,
This
can
is
we
next year's
approve it and then amend the interest rate?
That's what we're asking, so hang on a second.
staff tells me we can bring it back on 9.
Okay, so pull out Old Gate, and we'll see if we can lower that interest rate to 3.25. And is there any more public comment?
No, you already spoke.
I think you already spoke. You get one chance to speak. Okay,
Madam Chairman?
yes.
Well, unless his interest rate is higher.
No, he's on the 3.25.
Just a couple of questions. Are all the others at 3.25? I mean, I think it's only fair we make them
Yeah.
all 3.25.
No, I'm fine with that.
And
Did the AC cut off?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah, it's sort of back again, finally.
And Mr. Chairman, I thought that at the time of the original assessment and then now, it is supposed to be the lower of the two interest rates.
That's when we said it.
No, it's what we said at the public hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Madam Chair, now, Mr. Chair. Commissioner, think of mortgage rates, they go up and down, up and down, but up and down. So at that time, that was what the interest rate was, because they weren't all done at once. So when they brought it forward, interest rate was 5.25. The next one was brought, it was 3.25. Again, tomorrow I might be able to refinance my house at 1.5, and next month I might be able to do it 2.5.
Well, last time, when it was brought in front of the board to set up a PVAS, and at that time it was 3.25, and we stated at that time it is the lower of the interest rate at the time. It was either the interest rate at that date, or if it went up to 6.5 today, it's the lower of the two.
Nah, we said it, and we said it.
When it was set,
Yeah.
that date,
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't change it every year.
Yeah.
It's set at the final public hearing.
Yeah. Okay, what do you have for us?
What do you,
What the
We
question
want to
was,
know if
what was
any
the
of the
other-
others
are they
have a
all at
higher interest rate.
3.25?
Yeah,
Ainsley, I think the board wants to have them all at 3.25%, so
Right.
you need to pull the ones
Yeah.
out.
Evelyn is at 5.25, Waxwing, just those two, and Allen.
okay, Allen, pull
Alwyn,
out.
A-L-L-Y-N.
Oldgate, pull out. Will you modify your motion?
No, Oldgate is 1.75, that's the storm damage, and remember with the storm damage, you had a lower interest rate.
Well, then we need to.
Oh, wait a second, Ainsley. Old Gate is what?
1.75.
Which is the one who started all this.
It's only at 1.75, not 5.25? She
No.
said 5.25.
Oh my gosh, we're all over the place. Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Moore.
It was noticed as 5.25, but because it was storm damage, the board reduced it to 1.75.
I think, Mr. Chair,
Okay.
just a suggestion, staff's gonna have to take some time to research this a little bit and look at the interest rates and probably bring this back to us in a whole package again. I don't know what.
So I
Would agree, I think we have to continue this to another meeting.
I'd recommend that you continue it, not defer it. So continue it to your September 15th meeting. That will be in Dade City, but
everyone will get the lower interest rate.
but if that's
don't need to
the
come.
board's intent is that it be at either at 3.25, or if it's been set lower, the
Yeah.
lower.
Okay, so I'm
So
not
at that meeting, you're asking us to present the interest rate it was approved at, and the interest rate.
No, well, at the next board meeting, I'll make the motion that you bring these back, and any one that was higher than 3.25, bring them down to 3.25.
Okay, I got it.
That's my
Second.
motion. September
We got a motion
15th.
and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passed 5-0.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Ainsley,
Ms. Mendez?
these roadways that have been done, we do have a year warranty on them? or is
Yes,
it
there's a
longer?
12-month warranty on them against poor workmanship and the material defect. In terms of guarantee work against material defect, we have testing that is done. And in terms of the poor workmanship, it's inspections, physical inspection by our county staff. Yes, sir.
But you're not going to be covering when a company truck come in, like a garbage truck? come
No,
in,
that
they
is
spill-
outside.
And
That is
that's not
definitely
covered.
outside. Yes, sir.
All right, so on the work that was done on Colonial Country Club Estates,
Yes, sir.
we went and we looked at all the stormwater areas and had adjustments done. There was one area that was going to be difficult, and I'm not sure if it's one of the intersections the gentleman was mentioned, but I want you, if you could, if that gentleman's still here, I think he's gone, oh, he's still here. Would you get with him, and let's set a time, we'll go out and take a look at that? And just, if there's something we can do to fix that, let's get those things fixed the way they're supposed to be
Sure.
done from the get-go.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
all right.
Mr. Chairman, before you move on to the next item, while Ms. Fagan is here,
Okay.
This will be Jane's last board meeting with you all.
Boo, hiss.
Nobody likes that.
And I believe the clerk has something to read.
Yes, Madam Clerk?
All right, Ms.
Jane, if
Fagan.
you'll come forward, so.
Resolution number 21-270, a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, commending Jane Fagan, Senior Assistant County Attorney for more than 19 years of dedicated service to the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners and the citizen of Pasco County. Whereas on July 29, 2002, Jane Fagan became an Assistant County Attorney for Pasco County as a procurement attorney. And whereas Jane was promoted to Senior Assistant County Attorney, and whereas Jane has been certified by the Florida Bar in city, county, and local government law, and is a highly experienced, well-regarded attorney. And whereas while Jane continued her specialization in procurement throughout her time with Pasco County, she served as an important academic resource for the attorneys in the county attorney's office, as many other projects ranging from ethics to emergency management issues. And whereas no matter how busy Jane was, she would set aside her own work to listen and assist co-workers seeking direction or information. Jane generously shared her knowledge of local government law, edited documents, and listens to her co-workers' professional questions to help identify issues, steer them into a productive path, and identify resources to help with the issue at hand. She is also a talented editor with a knack for finding mistakes and clarifying ambiguities others have overlooked. And whereas despite Jane's juggling a heavy workload for years, working nights, weekends, and on vacation, and assisting and supporting coworkers, Jane could be relied upon to get the job done. And whereas Jane has assisted with thousands of county actions ranging from securing office supplies and emergency communication services to multi-million-dollar projects, Jane has been instrumental in bringing to life many of Pasco County's highly valuable and complex initiatives, including, but by no means limited to, issuance of bonds for necessary public services projects, road paving assessment program, PVAS, to improve roads within the county, SunWest Park to provide a unique public beach recreational facility, Ridge Road to provide an additional transportation and evacuation corridor, Wesley Chapel District Park created the largest combination indoor-outdoor county park facility, Board Agenda Software Systems, Sire and Civic Clerk for public access and transparency of Board of County Commissioners' actions for the county, Wiregrass Ranch Sports Campus development of a competitive sports tourism facility, fire stations designed and construction throughout the county, Land O'Lakes Detention Center expansion to 3,500 beds, and whereas in addition to Jane's intellect and legal skills, Jane's thoughtfulness and kindness is abundant. She is always among the first to sympathize with frustrations, help to organize celebrations, and give others credit rather than engaging in self-promotion, even when it is well-deserved. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that the board hereby commends and extends its appreciation to Jane Fagan for her more than 19 years of dedicated service to Pasco County. Done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting this 24th day of August 2021.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I said I'd vote no on this one.
But it passed 5-0.
I mean, you know
so-
how we need you up there.
Well, thank you very
Yeah.
much. It was a tough decision. For
And
the
Jane-
last time, Jane Fagan, Senior Assistant County Attorney.
Yeah, Jane, I actually heard this yesterday, and so I reached out for your husband without him answering any calls, because I heard you were moved back so you could be closer to your family and your husband, and I wasn't sure he said that. So I reached out to him, but I couldn't get a hold of him for a comment. So I'll let it go this time, and
A quiet guy, you
we'll
might not
let
have
you
gotten
go,
one.
but we don't want you to go, so.
Well, I just want to say, first of all, I'm just totally floored. This was totally unexpected. And I appreciate it, Jeff, and the rest of the board. I really
Well-
do. So, but thank you. It's been an honor to represent Pasco County and to work with all you all and all the staff. It's been a really positive experience. Thank you.
It's been an honor for all of us to be able to serve with you. and work
Thank you
with
so much. And I'm not normally a crier, but it's all I seem to be doing this week. So, yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you.
I think Jeff had something.
Mr. Mariano?
Yeah. Jane, we're going to miss you. I hope it works better for your family, for you.
Yes.
You were a solid, tremendous worker for the county, always protecting the county every step of the way.
Thank you.
And I appreciate that every step of the way. And your creativity, when we were doing the Sunwest Park, first time we did it, and I'm going to tell you, the words you put in there of first-class condition put the county in a much better position to take the county park back. And because of that work like there, you put us in a position to get the park back in our control, and it's now been booming as far as effectiveness and people loving it. So thank you for all you've done. I wish you all the best in the world.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to say a couple of words, but, you know, I inherited a marvelous team when I got here. Jane was one of those people that was there and was there to help me grow into the role of county attorney. You know, I can't tell you how many emails I have gotten at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning with her finishing up projects that just had to be done. She's always been there, always ready to help. Sometimes when she shouldn't be and has other things to do, but she's always there to help out her teammates and has always thought about the good of the county for the entire time that I've been county attorney, and she will be very missed.
Thank you so much. Really, really
Well,
appreciate
I
it.
just want to
Go
say
ahead.
one thing too. And
And then
Jane,
we'll
you and
go
I
down.
spoke a little bit, talked a little bit, was it day before yesterday, I think it was, and stuff
Yesterday.
too? Shock and all. But you will be missed. You are, I mean, what a true professional you are. And I hope you don't mind me saying this, you're a sweet person at that as well. Very, very sweet. But, you know, at the same time, you know, you're a strong attorney. You know, and Jeff has an extraordinary team, and we appreciate each and every one of you. And I've said this to Jeff many times, without yourself and the rest of the, you know, county attorneys and assistant county attorneys and such here, you know, the county wouldn't run. It would not function. And besides you being there to do right by the citizens, you're also there to protect us and make sure we're doing
We try.
the right job and following statute and following the rules and following the laws. So you will be dearly missed. I'm sure our paths will cross again. You're not that far away.
No,
you know,
thank
but
you very
again, it's been an honor to work with you, so thank you.
Thank you. And that's always been my goal, to try to give the best advice to the
And,
county.
and,
to
and
you.
I'll echo everything the commissioners are saying, and we're losing a leader up on the 3rd floor, so what a void we're gonna have. I'll miss you, and best of luck where you're going to. I just
Thank you very
heard,
much.
I will tell you, my jaw dropped when they walked that on this morning, and I texted Jeff, "Are you telling me Jane is leaving?" I couldn't believe it, so, you'll be very missed, and really appreciate your time here and working with
So
you.
much. It was an honor to work with everyone, to represent the county. Thank you.
It's so warm in here. Hey, when you take that, so I took my shoes off and they're in the car. I forgot to put them back
in the
on.
car?
Yeah, we're gonna stand back here. We'll do that. That's why I'm really short. I'm in my flip-flops.
This way it won't look
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. We don't wanna get COVID.
Here, I'll go even out. Well, there you go. Hey. I said I'd come up. I have to go on my tiptoes.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
doing.
Davidson. Okay.
Dang it.
All right. Oh, Chairman, you were looking down when I took mine. I got to take it again. All right, I'm good.
Oops, I got 3 inches shorter.
That reminds me.
Can you make my drink?
Thank you.
Yeah, 50/50 with the ice, and here's my cup. We're not taking any more pictures after that. Okay, yeah. Wasn't expecting any pictures. We still have P96? Yes, it is. I saw you just, I was like,
A message.
You know, for the Italian, one other thing
All right, guys, we got a few more things to do.
Oh, okay, here's the stuff from the meeting I missed.
That doesn't make any sense.
Okay, we move on to P96.
Item P96 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on August 8th, 2021 and August 11th, 2021.
Okay, good afternoon. Justin Grant, Director of Public Infrastructure, Fiscal and Business Administration. P96 is a resolution, there we go, resolution revising the water and wastewater and reclaim water fees and charges, providing for an effective date. All right, just a little opening here. That's a picture of a sign out at our Shady Hills wastewater plant. Just want to note that we've fared very well with all the big three rating agencies in how we govern and manage the utility. So we've been noted that we have a very strong financial profile, strong service area and affordable rates. That comes from Fitch. They're one of the most strict out of those three, and so that's high praise. So today we're going to walk through the big picture of what we're working on with our 4-year rate study. And so most of you have seen this before. This is a similar type structure. Why we do this, we came 4 years ago, so I'll walk you through that and some of our big highlights. You see the revenue requirements, operating costs, capital costs, financial policies that we need there. How do we allocate those costs between residential, commercial, industrial? How do we design the rates? And then how do we implement all those fees and charges needed to support that? All right, so this is a quick little graph to kind of show comparative to the national water and sewer CPI. You see over the period of about the last 10 years, a 54% increase, whereas our rate increases are only at 32%. And so you see a nice 22% delta here. I'm waiting for the slide to advance. My apologies, the clicker is pausing here for a minute. There we go. Yeah, well, thank you, Todd. Dramatic effect. So 22% delta versus the pace of the rest of the country. And so we remain affordable. It's notable that when we compare that to an affordability metric that Fitch uses, we're only at 1.89% median household income, whereas their target is about 4%. All right, this slide walks us through our average bill. Currently, it's at $79. With this increase, it'll go to $81.30. That increase relative, and I know it may be tough to see, you have the slides in front of you, but that chart there on the right looks at some of the other area utilities and what their rate increases are. As you can see, we have a very moderate 1.5% and 3.5% across the next 4 years. That's 1.5% for water, 3.5% for sewer and reclaim. Relative to our peers and what their rate increases that are planned over the next 4 years, we will not change our position in the bottom third of where we stand with those other relative utilities. All right, so this walks through some of the reasons that we do this, right? We're looking at customer growth and what's happening. Obviously, we're all subject to what we see in the media and in our daily lives with inflation. That certainly affects the utility as well. And so in order to support all the different things that we have going on, obviously we have almost a $400 million capital plan over the next couple of years. With a large portion of that, over half of that going towards growth-related activities to support the utility. It's crucial to have a 4-year structure in place that's able to collect the appropriate amount of revenue to support those activities. Okay, so relative to the last structure here, for the last 4 years, the notable change here is we're taking a little bit of a different look here to amend our reclaim rates. And so previously you had $10.73 was your residential reclaim rate that allowed for unlimited consumption as well as your backflow device fee charge. We're looking at changing that base charge to be $11 a month. That will include up to 10,000 gallons worth of consumption. And for every 1,000 gallons of consumption above the 10,000 gallons would only be another $1.10. And so for someone that is using 15,000 gallons, that would only equate to just over $5 in additional structure. And so you look at cost recovery, right? It's notable that when we look at our reclaim structure, changes like this are necessary both to balance the demand on the system between bulk and retail, as well as to try and achieve a better cost recovery parameter. you look at retail rates that have historically been subsidized by the rest of the utility versus the rates that we do charge. All right, and so bringing here for a summary, 1.5 and 3.5 for the next 4 years, just as we had done for the past 4 years. No other structural changes other than reclaim. Bulk rates will adopt cost of service here in '22 and then index along with the rest of the plan, and other fees will go in as well with miscellaneous charges that are updated every 4 years. Recommendation from the utility is to adopt the 2021 rate study and the resolution outlining the adjustment to fees, rates, and charges for utility services for the fiscal years '22 through '25.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Question for you.
Yes, sir.
And we had this our discussion when we talked about reclaim rates.
Yes, sir.
And my concern is golf courses. You know, Magnolia Valley, Timber Oaks all went under. I would say all for cost, but cost is a factor. Golf courses are struggling now completely. We've got a market for reclaimed water now, which we didn't have before when we set all these reclaim provisions up. The rates that they used to pay were substantially less. I don't think it would be a dramatic hit in the rate structure. I'll let you comment to that in a second. But I want to give you another thought to think about, which just kind of like clicked right now for me. If the golf courses could use more well water as opposed to using our reclaim water, it's better for them anyway for the final product. Do you think we could work with the golf courses in the next year or so to try to get Swiftman to allow them to pump more water where they wouldn't need to use ours, and that would enable us to even let other people use reclaimed water that may want to?
So that's a little more complicated because clearly we have agreements with the Water Management District, and so if there were agreements in place to do reclaim projects, then that would probably float contrary to those agreements. You know, whether or not golf courses, I believe it's part of the consumptive use process is alternative sources. So they would have to show how that is not feasible. The district has a process for that, and I mean, that's on its surface. I'm not sure we should be involved in that, but.
Well, his situation, though, they're struggling right now. We've had a couple closed down. I mean, the Lynx Golf Course shut down, causing all sorts of people, you know, a tremendous drop in quality of life. And other than this big push for property values going through the roof, you would have seen a drop in values, which does affect the tax base for everybody. And Commissioner Rokel, you sat on Swiftmud, so you have more probably knowledge to this, so I'll defer to you a little bit as well. But if there's a way we can help then one way or the other, if all the reclaimed water is going to use, even if the golf courses don't use it, let's go try to work with Swiftmud to try to help them increase their consumptive use permits that they can get. If not, tell me what the rates would be if we did set them back to the rates of what they were 6-7 years ago.
Sure. So we ran a rough scenario that would be about that. So if we cut by 50% to go back to that, and to achieve the cost recovery that we're aiming to do, if we shifted that balance over to the retail side of things, that would take that $11 that we looked at and bring that to about $12.70. And so instead of the $1.10 for every additional 1,000 gallons, that would bring that to about $1.27 for the retail customer.
Increase.
So, and the other notable good thing is so we've got a 72-cent rate and a 36-cent rate that offers for differences in with and without storage and pumping. And so the golf courses do have that lower rate. And so we verified, I think we sent your office over some details on some of the rates that those current courses are paying, and they are on that lower rate right now.
Let me add something to that. I think Lake Javita, that's public well right there that they have, public water. Lake Javita Golf Course.
I believe Lake Javita has some reclaim for sure.
Well, they have.
And well, they have a combination.
Reclaim right now, but if they had to go the other way and have to pump more water, and that was the issue they were having before, they couldn't get enough water through their well system to provide the golf course and what else they needed. So the fact that they wanted reclaim because that was going to give them the ability with their well for potable water or more usage, and they were having an issue with their consumptive use permit on that well. So this provided where they could use that water like they should.
Most of the golf courses historically from the 90s, water use caution areas, when they got public supply reclaimed water, their consumptive use permits were ratcheted down to emergency use only. And so they literally can only use them if the municipal supplier has a failure that it can't get them water.
Right. I agree.
And it would have to unwind all of that, basically conservation that the Water Management District has done for the last 30 years to get them back on groundwater.
And again, I didn't really want to change that, but it was a thought I had going through. But again, the financial viability of a golf course is really tough right now. People are doing other things and not bringing up kids like they used to. You know, I grew up as a caddy. That's how I kind of got in the game. There's no more caddies, there's carts anymore. So that 30-year plan of not having those kids stay involved is having an effect. I think there's going to be still a strong golf course market for years to come. But again, the financial viability, especially in Pasco County, they're struggling. And I don't want to see any more golf courses closed. If there's ways to make it happen, I'd like to see us take a look at, you know, bringing the rates down. So if you would maybe show us how the numbers would affect the total.
Okay. The only other notable point I'd make would be looking at the indexes. So it's 2.9% change for the golf courses right now. So it is a little bit sub where we're looking at reclaim indexing at 3.5%. But we can certainly look at those other numbers and get back to you.
All right, so that's not the numbers I'm talking about. I'm talking going back to the previous levels that were like 50% less.
Right. So when we talked about if we're aiming to achieve the cost recovery, that end result would end up if you shift that, if you go cut that 50%, you shift that over to the retail side, that would take that $11 to $12.70 and up to $1.27.
So it's a 10% increase to the retail ratepayer.
On our bouts, yeah.
Okay. I just want, from a
Yep.
percentage basis,
Yes, sir.
it would
Yeah.
increase the
But that's
retail
put-
ratepayer 10% to reduce the rates on golf courses.
All right, but that's putting it in a silo, because years ago, as Mike will tell you, it was a loser big time. You were trying to trying to make money on the reclaimed money. Years ago, it was just a loser-loser. We did it for the environmental reasons, for all the right stuff. Now we've tried to make it where it doesn't cost as much money. But it's for the good of the whole system, good of the whole county, that we actually raise the rates up to try to collect that extra money. I didn't like going up that high then. I still don't like them being up this high now. If you spread it amongst the general rates across everything, what would that effect be?
Taking that entire increase and then spreading it across the, not just in reclaim.
$79.01, would it go to like $79.02, is my question.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, so you're suggesting then that the reclaim rates for retail or whatever, we would spread it across all customer classes, sewer, water?
I'm saying for.
Because right now sewer subsidizes the reclaim program.
Correct.
So, so in the past, we've achieved just over 50% cost recovery, more or less, and our consultant can talk a little bit more about those numbers. We're targeting a higher recovery rate to lessen the subsidy. Thus, the reclaim customers are actually paying what is fair. So right now, we've targeted 70% to avoid a shock. In part two, because quite honestly, as we've seen during May, and in fact, when we were running on shortages, the reclaimed water has become a fairly valuable commodity. And so part of the reason of bringing these costs in here too is to provide some cost demand management, thank you, by actually getting away from the all you can use for a flat rate model. And I think, you know, our consultants can talk about, you know, we'll figure out what that elasticity is once we implement that. If we were to, I don't believe that we really have an analysis where we looked at spreading it across all of that. I mean, we did look at within the reclaim structure itself, if we were to move it from this class, if we were to cut bulk rates by half, you would see an increase on the retail class. I mean, basically to achieve the same number. And those are the numbers that Justin has put forward.
And again, years ago, when these golf courses came into play, they helped us getting rid of the reclaimed water. They helped us. They were doing us a
Didn't have any place for it to go.
Exactly. So they did us a favor. Their business plan went along the way. When all of a sudden demand came up, we changed the deal. What happens to the golf course now is now they're paying the highest, you know, much higher reclaim rate, but they don't have the option to go back to using, you know, well water. So it's like, you know, I think these golf courses add value to the properties that are around them. I don't think you're going to see a major exodus on people building more golf courses, so we need to keep the ones we've got. And I just, like I said, I think if we look at the broad race and what that difference would be, it'd be a lot fairer to go than to take the reclaimed customers now who are helping us offset the loss that we used to have. But at the same time, you spread it amongst everybody. I got to think it's got to be a very minuscule number on that $79 number, what it would be if you did just that one segment for the golf courses to what that number would be. So it would be like $79 and a couple of cents more, or where would it be?
So what might be two quick points. One, Mike, I think, kind of talked a little bit about the system demand and system load back in 2011 versus 2020. When we looked at those numbers, right, roughly increasing somewhere in the neighborhood of 17 to 20%. We're above 95%, hovering around 97% in terms of the demand on the reclaim, whereas we were hovering around 70% in the period of time you're talking about in early 2000s. If you'll allow, it might be helpful. We've got Jeff Dykstra here with Stantec Consulting, who's our rate consultant. He can talk a little bit about how other utilities and regions handle golf courses and municipal rates.
Yeah, good afternoon. Jeff Dykstra with Stantec. A couple of just points to make. Currently, your bulk reclaim water rates are about 80% cost recovery. So even at their current levels and the proposed levels, not fully recovering their cost. So with the proposed rate structure that we have here is really an adjustment on the retail side to increase retail cost recovery with this new structure to be closer in line with the bulk cost recovery. So if you were to, for example, reduce bulk rates by 50%, they would drop from maybe 80% down to about 40% cost recovery, while retail is going up. So you're kind of inverting. We're trying to catch retail up to bulk currently with this structure, whereas with that approach, you'd basically flip the paradigm. And as Mike mentioned, currently sewers subsidizing reclaimed water at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what the method is. I just think it's hurting a business that used to help us. Now we've trapped them with swift mud and water consumption to go the other way.
Yeah,
I think the net effect would be, if you're going to have, let's go back to the first idea I had out there as far as getting them to allow pump more water. The people are going to use a certain amount of water anyway, whether it's reclaimed water or not. It might even enable us, if we went to my first suggestion, that they would use, the people would use more reclaimed water. We would make more revenue to that end if you kept even the rates the same, if we help them be able to pump more water instead. But I understand it's cost recovery.
Yeah,
and again, we were, as a county, we did a phenomenal job leading the way in reclaimed water, I think, around the nation. So we did a lot of great things. I'm just saying that the effect right now is golf courses are struggling with numbers. Our demographics don't support golf courses like they do in Pinellas, Hillsborough. So the dollars that are going out there are affecting what's going to happen in the future. And I don't want to see them get penalized any heavier. Not that this may be the bottom line or not, but everything's going to matter. So if there's a way to structure it, I'd just like to hear that number, what it would be.
Yeah, the revenue impact, the approximate revenue impact of that on the system is about between $500,000 and $600,000. So if you took bulk rates, cut them in half, it's about a $500,000 or $600,000.
I'm not saying that if you cut them in half, it'd be how much?
About $550,000 of revenue.
And if you spread that over the whole utility, not just the reclaim, what would that number be?
Can you do that?
Why not?
Are you saying what would the increase be to recover the additional $500,000 from?
Right. So right now we're at $79 now, is it?
Yeah, for a typical bill.
All right. So $79 now, and I don't have the slide right in front of me, but $79. $81.30. $81.30.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're at $81.30. If you took that number just for the golf courses, what would that affect that number to be?
Trying to run.
So Jeff, I think if I understand correctly, if we were just to, what you're asking is maintaining the bulk rate at whatever we go back to some baseline, cut it in half, and we're not making that revenue up other than through it would be subsidized by the sewer customers, ultimately. So that would be $500,000 onto the sewer customers, which means that, it'd probably be a blip in terms of a percentage on the sewer customer, Jeff. I don't know, but I think that's really where the number that the commissioner's looking for.
Yeah, I don't want to I don't want to affect the retail customers on the reclaimed. I'm just trying to help the golf courses save money. If you spread it amongst everything,
Mr. Chairman,
what would that number be?
when he's done,
Mr. Moore?
We're still waiting for an answer, though.
Well, I can
Okay.
legally, I can see tying it to the sewer customer because the you are generating reclaimed water.
Okay.
I have a problem when you're starting to put it on the potable water customer.
That's what I was.
All right, let's go that way then. Okay.
Which is exactly what we.
Okay, that's fine.
That's exactly what we would do, reclaim as a product of wastewater, and so.
Okay.
if you
Justin,
were to do anything, we're
Mike.
not-
Well,
Sorry.
Thank you.
If-
All right, so we'll just
apologies,
do
thank
numbers
you.
to go.
If the I'll wait for the commissioner.
I'd like
are
to
you
just
good?
get the answer, though.
So-
Now
so-
that we know where we can go, we got to go with the sewer. What would that number be on the
We'll,
sewer
we'll
rate?
run the numbers. If we were to have to do that right, 3.5% probably would go up by, and, I don't know, go to 3.6, 3.65. I'm not sure exactly what that figure would be, if we're gonna do that, but that's where it would have to go, would have to go on that sewer rate. So currently 3.5%, it would uptick that by a nominal amount.
All right, but to make a decision, we got to know. How quick can you make that calculation?
Okay, if there's another comment, we can try and run that right now.
I'll just go.
Mr.
Okay, now?
Moore.
Okay. Now, this is probably for Mr. Steinschneider. Obviously, this utility funds are, they're encumbered. We cannot use those funds. We cannot take those and put them in the general fund. We cannot, no, this is a question. I'm not saying we want to do this, but just to kind of prove a point, taking general fund dollars and putting them in a utility fund is a no-no as well.
That has been generally my position with the standalone enterprise accounts, yes.
Right. So the objective of the Pasco County Utilities is not to make money. The objective is
Cost
to
recovery.
cost recovery, right? So can you back up 2 slides, maybe 3 for me real quick?
Slide 3? Yes, sir.
Let's try, wait, let me see. Yeah, well, one more, if you don't mind.
Okay.
We may get there. 2, maybe one more.
This one? The bill comparison?
I'm looking for the increase.
Okay, the
in-
comparison right here.
Yeah. Nope. Look, go to all the increases that are being proposed. The one slide that has all the increases. I apologize.
That might be
The
where he was, the
36
last one,
cents
the
and
summary.
72 cents, that's not being increased?
With the,
Right here? The region?
nope, that's not it. You had a list of all,
Could be your summary that you were.
Maybe the summary,
The
yes, ma'am.
72
the
cents and
very-
the 36 cents, and
the
I was told, I asked
oh,
that specific
still,
question.
we're still in the same, yeah.
Yeah, asked that specific question during,
Wait,
Here,
This
sir?
one, look here.
hold on a sec. Bulk
Summary
item.
slide.
they weren't changing.
Okay,
Or
yeah, we can
increasing.
use this one, that's not what I was looking at. So, we talk about connection fees. We've had this discussion as a board on numerous issues, how much should new growth be able to pay for itself, so our current customers aren't paying more for the additional and new growth, right? So we look at connection fees, how much is this increase in connection fees, do you feel, and we had this conversation, so I guess it's really for the rest of the board and the people watching at home, can offset what possibly could be necessary additional increases across the board, whether it be sewer, whether it be reclaimed,
So unpacking.
increase in connection fees.
Right. So connection fees, so I don't want to mix up the two issues. We did have this discussion, you're absolutely right, sir. So today is to adopt the 4-year structure. We will be coming back about a month. We're going through the structure right now, working with the county attorney's office, moving things around with the ordinance land development code. We'll be coming back in a month, and I believe we'll finalize October 26th meeting is when everything will be final. So this board will have an opportunity to review connection fees in detail and the balance that you're talking about. And so our goal here today is to adopt the 4-year structure in order to have that separate discussion because, yes, you're correct, right? Growth is out of balance, right? Current connection fees do not recover enough to cover what growth is costing the utility to expand.
So in essence, you're having to dip into your fund to offset the cost of the connection fees.
So yes, sir, the
With
current
FTs.
water and sewer rate structure, because connection fees do not recover cost, this rate structure has to pick up some of that bill. to
If
foot
I can
for
get some
CIP.
clarity, in this slide, when you're talking about connection fees, are you talking about the rebranded connection fees?
So-
That we haven't,
So the rate study that we've completed calculates those fees. We are not bringing those fees together for the board for adoption.
so
They will
is
come
it-
back later this month.
So, yeah, but
I'm
is-
sorry,
are
later
you
in
really talking about impact fees? Or
So-
are you talking about what used to be called connection fees, but now you're moving impact fees into that same rubric?
So separate, yeah, so separate actions, right? And so right now, we're working together with your office and all the different parties, right? Ordinance development team, all of that. Impact fees to connection fees, that will be a separate action coming in
So,
about 4 weeks.
just to continue the conversation, is there a way, or is there a possibility with impact fees, connection fees, whatever we'll call them, to offset some of the cost to our general customer when it comes to their charge, their charges on water and or sewer or reclaimed? Is it possible for any of those funds to be moved over to offset any possible increases or increases in the future?
So if I understand
are you following my?
correct,
Mike,
let me get some clarity.
You're doing, here's what, I can see you're doing, it's like you're thinking like, what's 8 plus 20? That look, where you're trying to do a problem in your head.
I'm twitching.
I know,
twitching.
just kidding.
No, currently, I don't think we carry much of what we're going to be calling connection fees, former impact fees, as you may know them, balances on those. We are using those 100%. So there's really, but I guess the essence of your question is if we raise the connection fees, is there a corresponding decrease in the rates?
Could there potentially be, and what would, I guess, the cost of that be? You may not be able to answer that question today.
Yeah, I can't answer it because I haven't looked at the numbers. I would defer to our rate consultant on that one.
So if the question is an impact fee, can an impact fee pay for the cost of new growth? That's what an impact fee is designed to do, absent what the legislature did to us this last session. So in theory, you can capture your cost for new growth, capture the cost of plan expansion, capture the cost of anything that they're paying at the time they pull a building permit, if there is the will to charge that much. Most jurisdictions have written down some of that cost because it gets pretty steep. But legally, you could calculate one that way.
But could you actually use that any fund balance to offset any other additional costs that are related to those connections?
I think unrestricted numbers and accounts we could use.
Correct. So I apologize, I missed some of what
That's
you were
okay.
stating, but in
And I'm
terms
really
of
getting
impact fees-
deep in the weeds
Sure,
here.
sure. So impact fees, the way they're defined, right, we do have bond covenants, so we'd have to look at a lot. Most of that, anything that's collected in impact fees, and we're going through the definitions of connection fees, those are restricted funds, right? So we call them kind of red money, and they're intended only for those certain purposes. So water impact fees are only allowed to fund water expansion, wastewater, same thing. And so you can't, so if your question, if I understand you correctly, is could we use balances from those funds
Correct.
if we were to adjust all those maybe upwards, right, to offset some of what we're doing
Correct.
today for 1.5 and 3.5?
Correct.
The answer would be no,
Okay,
right?
there it is.
I'd have to coordinate, make sure, but
Yep.
those are restricted funds. You couldn't use impact fees to
Easy
subsidize.
enough. Okay, answers my question. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, but also at the same time with new growth, new developments and new communities, they are required to run the reclaimed water lines as they're running the potable water lines, is
They're
what?
not all required, are they?
No.
It's very
Okay.
specific.
During-
It's based upon a number of things, Commissioner, when we require reclaimed water.
So-
Size of the community, location of lines. It's very much a judgment call, as we move forward. Infill developments, we may not necessarily require it. As a general rule, that's our first approach.
But when looking into specific new growth and new development, if it meets specific requirements, when I was in the meeting with you,
Yes, ma'am.
we had discussed that the new growth, when they meet certain specified requirements, they had to run the reclaimed water lines with the potable water lines.
You're talking about new development that comes in. So, yeah, this is what we're
And
talking.
they meet specific requirements.
We could speak to that. The county codes and land development code specifies when potable water is needed, and of course, we're developing specific standards for reclaim and working with the building industry on that. But if we determine that reclaimed water is appropriate The developer runs the pipe at their costs. We do not recover, our impact fees are not calculated to recover that cost of that pipe. We look to the development community to build the pipe, we build the plants.
So that should help offset some of the new growth costs, because the developer is now putting in the reclaimed water lines.
Correct. We normally would not pay for those anyways. We would push that. Now, in some, I'm not saying that's the case in all cases, because there's always specific things, but in general, we look to cover our plant expansion costs with the connection fees.
And then going back, talking about the unlimited reclaimed water, it used to be $11 for every 10,000 gallons. I'm recapping.
No, ma'am. So the 1073 under the former rate structure, so 1073, and I believe it was 522, correct, on a backflow fee charge. That was the old retail rate structure, and so that allowed for paying those fees. You could use as much as you needed to. And so
Correct.
now under the current structure, it would be $11 for up to 10,000 gallons, $1.10 for any additional 1,000
Correct. So you originally had unlimited use of the reclaimed water.
The old rate structure did, yes, ma'am.
And
for
with the
retail
new rate
customers.
structure, it's $11 up to 10,000 gallons, and then $1.10 for additional 1,000 gallons. Now, going back, because I had specifically asked you during the meeting as well, when it comes to the golf courses and everything else, it was 36 cents and 72 cents. So if they housed their own and stored their own water, it was only 36 cents per gallon, because it was only half
Per 1,000
of
gallons, yes,
the 72 cents. And at that time, I thought you also said that those rates did not increase, or they only went up like a couple cents.
So they only, so they only went up 2.9%. That's what we were just talking about. They, I believe each one increases by about a penny.
Correct.
1 and 2 pennies? Correct, yeah, okay.
Because
So, and those are for folks behind a master meter, right? So those are not your retail customers. And so the developments that Mike was describing with those new housing developments would not be subject to that rate if they were doing individual meters.
Correct. So it wouldn't jeopardize, because it wouldn't be changing the structure for the golf courses. They're going to still be paying around the same amount that they've been paying.
Correct. So even the golf courses would on average have, thank you, sir, would on average have about a 2.9%, right? So if you look at, so I'm just going to pick one, right? So Lexington Oaks, right? If you look at their current consumption, right, they're going to be looking at about an $18, almost $19 difference in their bill overall, a month? Correct.
Of an increase?
Yes.
Because I thought you had said it was only going up a penny per gallon.
So per 1,000 gallons, right? So their user, right, based on their average usage habits, we did some of that research, and it looks like for them it would be about a $19 increase per month. So
Because it was
2.9% is the relative figure for all those golf courses.
Discussed at the beginning, we wanted to encourage as many people to switch over to reclaimed water, so we wanted to have the least amount of impact on the developments and the golf courses that agreed to use the reclaimed water.
I'm not sure I understand your question, ma'am.
We wanted to impact the least amount on the golf courses. We didn't
Right.
want to increase their rates so drastic that it was going to have a negative impact on them. And that's why you had said it was only a couple cents difference when charging into the new tax structure or bill structure.
So, correct. So 2.9 is a nominal rate increase, 2.9% relative to those bulk rates. And so the major change you're looking at is actually that slide right there. And so when we look at the retail structure, and our consultant just kind of mentioned that a little bit, the change in cost recovery relative to what we spend to support that program, their cost recovery percentages remaining equal to the old rate structure. And so that penny and 2 pennies that we're talking about is on par with what it costs us to support that program. We're shifting a little bit of, and like Mike talked about a little bit, with demand management, right? Because we've got that additional load on the system. We want to be able to support the retail customers as well. At the same time, right, we just discussed wastewater subsidizes that. And so that's what we're trying to change. So to put a brief point on your answer, right, 2.9% is rising right along with the cost it costs us to support that program.
Because we wanted to continue and to encourage people to continue to use the reclaimed water. So we don't want to increase the rates too drastic, especially for the golf courses or other.
Sure. So we want to encourage use, but we want to encourage responsible use, right? And so when we look at, that's kind of one of the big drivers when we look at the retail side of things, and we talked a little bit about the load on the system. when you have that unlimited structure, right, sometimes you have folks on the higher end of the curve that are consuming, more than their, fair share of reclaim, if you will. And so putting this, there just ends up being a little bit of a signal, right? 10,000 gallons is the median in terms of consumption for retail. And so that hopefully is allowing to balance that equation out. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Thank you.
Yep, Commissioner, we have an answer.
Awesome.
Yeah, so just crunch some quick numbers. Relative to your question on the impact on the sewer rates, we'll be looking about instead of a 3.5% next year, it'd be a 4%. And that would be about a 30-cent increase on the overall bill that you saw. So instead of about 81.30 in 2022, it would be about 81.60. But,
So right now it's 81.30. It would go up to 81.60.
81.58.
81, okay, so
At a
28
4%
cents.
increase, yeah.
So 28 cents, I mean, I think when someone looks at a bill, that's pretty minuscule.
And that's compared to if everyone paid the additional 28 cents, which is minuscule, compared to them, their bill's going up $18 a month, like Lexington Oaks?
No,
going up
the
18?
$81 that's referenced, that's a homeowner, a residential homeowner.
Not what I'm talking about.
Yep.
If we increase everyone's bill 28 cents, then Lexington Oaks wouldn't go up to $18 because everyone would be absorbing it.
Correct. The rate would actually be reduced in half roughly from the current bill.
Right, so the golf courses would get a benefit of rolling back to what they used to pay on the original initial agreements on when they agreed to lower their water consumption down. So someone's total monthly bill they're going to get goes from 81.30 to 81.58. I think it's worthwhile to lower it to that, bring it to that number.
So the notable thing there, just one thing to add on that would be for all bills, for whether they are reclaimed customers or not. If we
Right.
do that, that would be for all water sewer customers. It would be on the sewer side
Right.
of that bill.
Yeah.
I'm a little uncomfortable with that, because you're picking out one group of people to subsidize. And it makes me a little uncomfortable.
You're not subsidizing though. These are, listen, right?
If you cut their
Sewers customers are subsidizing golf courses.
All right, so let's take a look. Years ago, I'll go back to 5 years, what they were paying. So the number there on the chart would have been from 80% to 40%. There was a major bump that they took years ago. You hammered them many years ago. Not you, but the board that was previously here, I think. So that they took a strong jump, and they had no way to offset what they were going to do. They were doing the right thing using reclaimed water, and they had to cut down their water consumptive use permit for the good of the county. Now they're paying, and still have been paying, they're paying 80% cost recovery. The other reclaim rates are still at, they were at, let's say, just over 50%. They're still going to be under 70%. They've been shouldering the burden for years, and again, you had Magnolia Valley go down, Timber Oaks went down, the Lynx has gone down, and it's all about money, or mostly about money as far as these things go. If they can't make money, they're going to go under.
I don't think it was reclaimed water causing that issue.
Yeah.
Not, let's say, not exclusively that, but you're throwing an extra burden on these guys, and have been for years, when they were there helping stormwater situations quite a bit. Now, like I said, now it's like shoes on the other foot. Now they're struggling, where they could take care of the cost before. We don't have the same demographics of golfers we used to have, and now they're struggling. Do you want to see another golf course go down?
Mr. Chairman, the administrator wants to say something. Dan's been waiting to say something.
Mr. Biles?
Well, I was just checking if we did what Commissioner Mariano recommended. I was asking what that cost recovery subsidy chart looks like. Because right now they're roughly 80%. And I was roughly 40%. So they'd roughly go to 40%, so the sewer customer would be subsidizing 60% of their bill instead of 20% of the bill.
Yeah,
Is that how?
You're increasing, sewer's
Yes,
picking
I
up
think
more
some
than
of that-
that,
I think
and they're
that's
picking up
true
less here.
on the water side, on the potable
Yep,
side.
go ahead.
Yeah, so one of the things I mentioned, or if you look at this graph too, that's interesting. So bulk is at about 80% cost recovery right now.
Yes.
And so with the proposed rates. With the retail structure, we're getting that up to about just under 70%. So instead of this dynamic where you're
No.
flipping that, one opportunity may be to reduce the bulk to 70% more in line with the retail. So while the bulk rates wouldn't be cut in half, you could see, you know, at least a little bit of a reduction in there that would have less of an impact on sewer, just as an option.
I'd even favor something of a concession for these guys, because they are carrying the load, and they have been for many years.
Because if you do that, you're just basically flipping the cost recovery problem from bulk to retail. So this would be a way to maybe balance that out.
So rough numbers, you would go from 28 cents to probably about 14 cents?
Yeah, I'm running it right now, but I'll get your number here if you.
So now you're instead of being 81.30, it'd be about 81.44. And that gets them in line to where others are.
Yes, Commissioner, I understand your point, and they'll run the numbers for you. I guess from a policy perspective, right now, the sewer customer, whether they have reclaimed or not, is subsidizing the bulk customer 20% of their bill. And they're subsidizing the reclaimed retail customer, 30% under the new rates, but about 40% under the current bill. So those are people that the sewer customer that may have reclaimed, and the sewer customer that does not have reclaimed, correct?
Right, it's all sewer customers.
It's all sewer customers. So, you know, I get, from a policy perspective, ultimately, where do you want that non-reclaimed customer from the sewer customer that doesn't get reclaimed, how much should they actually subsidize a reclaim system? Today, you're subsidizing it to a tune of 20% and 40%. I mean, ultimately, do you want that subsidy to be zero, or do you want that subsidy to be somewhere in, you know, the average, what, 88%?
Around 80%.
Yeah, so about a 20% subsidy.
Mr. Chairman, let me flip the table on you. Take a look at, if you didn't have the reclaimed customers, your sewer rates would be higher. So they're helping, the reclaimed customers are actually helping lower the sewer bills, is how it's really working. It has been for a while. And again, these golf courses took the brunt of it 5-6 years ago when we really escalated their rates. So much so that they've been higher than even the retail people who do want to get it.
Yes, sir.
And again, just so you know, my first choice is to let them go pump other water rather than stuck with this.
I think that's not something.
It's not, we can make that call here today, I understand. I'm just saying.
I think the other thing to think about is, you know, we are at a point now where reclaim is a valuable resource, and if we don't do some kind of consumption charge, which is what we're proposing, what happened in May, where our retail customers could not get reclaimed at certain parts of the day because we were out, will spread to May, in April, and June, because we will run out of that resource. And so we got to go to a consumptive charge, because right now, the only thing that tells you can't water more than once a day are our conservation rules, and it's a code violation. There is no penalty if somebody uses reclaim 5 days a week, other than a code violation.
Yeah. And exactly what he's talking about, those two numbers I quoted earlier, right, when we look at 2011, right, there was roughly 70% average demand on the system. We're above 95% now, right, when we look at that. And that's why you had that, 97 was the number I ran just last night.
Yeah.
And so that's the challenge.
Mr. Moore?
Yeah, you just brought up a good point about having to lower the pressure for reclaim. I don't know if you guys did, but I have quite a bit of communities in my neck of the woods. I know Commissioner Starkey does, and Commissioner Fitzpatrick, you do as well, because they're new developments that are required to have reclaim. But I got a large number of emails and calls and I hate to call them complaints, but concerns from customers wondering why their pressure was down. Talk to people in the say the irrigation industry, right? For example, a gentleman that came to my house to repair my irrigation system. Once we got into conversation and he found out what I did, he started asking. He goes, I'm going on jobs every day. He goes, but I can't do the job because the pressure's not high enough for me to actually put the irrigation in and test if it's working. We don't want to go back to that, is my point. As well as some of the CDD and master plan communities, I was getting calls from CDDs, chairs, HOA chairs, about their concerns and not being able to, again, the pressure, not watering flowers, foliage, all that, dying and not looking up to par. So we definitely can't have that happen. We don't want to see that happen again. Again, I don't know if you guys got any of those calls or complaints. I got quite a few.
I'll say that in a lot of my district, they may be on county sewer, but they don't get reclaimed because they're older neighborhoods, so they don't even get the option to have reclaimed, and they're subsidizing on the sewer. So I'm not so inclined. I'll probably be just sticking with the staff recommendation.
But it's, previously, by having the reclaimed water, it was offsetting the cost of sewer for everyone in the county as a whole, correct?
So overall, having a reclaim system, in a broad notion, right, you're correct, right? Having a reclaim system, a system of treating and disposing of extra wastewater would bring down overall wastewater costs.
So it discounted the county as a whole by having the reclaimed water. Yes. And then we asked golf courses and new developments to take this excess reclaimed water because we had too much of it at that time, and we were giving it away. And then we started charging these new developments.
They always, there was always a rate structure in place for those golf courses, right? And so yes, you had systems where there was just different disposal challenges, right? We talked about that 70 and 97%, right? With the utility needing to dispose of that and reaching agreements with golf courses that would allow for that disposal to happen. But as that has shifted and we've got much more growth in the system, again, 97% load now, the arrangement really can't be there and still be able to, like Commissioner Moore was just stating, right, everyone to be able to have pressure at their houses to turn on their irrigation all the time. You wouldn't be able to have those type of things.
We asked them to take this water and dispose of it, and we weren't charging. And now we're turning around and we're imposing these fees after fees.
So they're not to my knowledge.
We entered into an agreement, typically with a lot of these golf courses, and those agreements stipulate how payments and rates and charges that are adopted, occasionally by the Board of County Commissioners, those rate structures have to be followed. So contractually, that's always part of the deal. You don't enter into a 20-year agreement necessarily promising that it's going to be a free commodity. So those agreements are in place with a lot of these golf courses and with all of our customers.
And
Uh-oh.
Doesn't even look like my.
So what Mike is talking
and
about
what
is
about
that.
Fegway?
I'm sorry?
And FGUA, if we're going to go back to Jasmine Lakes, didn't we take over Jasmine Lakes water and then distribute it over the whole county as a whole?
So the board took separate action, right, last year and made the decision to acquire the Aqua system.
Mm-hmm.
She's asking about
But
Aqua.
it's not connected into our system yet, right?
Well, not on reclaim, but to your point, we brought those systems in. The board made a conscious decision to bring these systems in, assume the debt. The debt was spread across the entire customer base, and rates were increased at a rate appropriate to absorb that debt, and now they pay the same rates as all county customers.
So now we're also taking in additional utilities and spreading those across the whole county. And that's why we're going up an additional $2.
No, in this particular case, the next system to fall, and I believe the county administrator put that in his presentation this morning, there is money being set aside to help offset the debt, which would negate the need for additional revenue. We can recover that revenue with the customer base to cover our costs. So no rate increase, and this proposed rate increase covers any acquisitions. It's not necessary, provided the money that the county administrator.
It's all cost recovered.
Correct.
So what's the pleasure of the board on this item? Because we can just keep on talking this the rest of the night, but it's hot in here.
Yes, Commissioner, it is warm.
So, is this something that needs to be, or the board?
I don't want to punt, because we punted a lot of stuff to future meetings, so.
And these rates would be effective on the 1st of October, so all the revenue models assume the rates are effective 1 October.
Can I get an answer on what my last question was? What that number is? I don't want to use my assumption of calculation, but.
The question on If you got to 70%, for example,
If you
cost
went-
recovery?
If you went to, well, yeah, all right, let's go to that one first. Yeah, 70%.
Yeah, so I mean, at 70%, you're talking about a, call it 8-cent reduction on the top bulk reclaim rate. So 4% reduction on the lower one. So at that level of reduction, it's really within the margin of rounding on this, and you wouldn't have to really adjust the sewer rates accordingly. So it kind of fits within that.
With the parameters you got set up.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion to approve staff's recommendation with the exception of taking the golf course reclaim rate at an 80% recovery to a 70% recovery, which will keep their rates the same.
Right, so that's what
I'll second that.
stated, Jeff, right?
Okay,
Is that
I can
Correct.
live with that, so I'll second that.
Okay.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman,
Just to keep it moving.
so,
We're not subsidizing.
so if that's the will of the board, they're going to have to re-advertise this and bring it back to you because
Oh.
specific rates were advertised for this hearing.
Nope, I take
So to
back
keep
my
the rates the
second.
same.
Correct, Justin? I mean, I've just looked at a proof of publication that had all these rates as advertised.
Did he just say he could keep the rates the same because they're in the same era, the same?
You're moving charges from one to another.
That's just reducing a charge.
No, it was
No,
taking it just
it-
to
let
where.
let me make sure I understand this, Commissioner. What you're saying is
And-
approve all the rates with the exception of the increase to the golf courses and leave the golf courses at the 70% recovery rate, which effectively leaves their rates alone.
Yeah.
So all the rates that are published, except for that rate, are correct.
So in going with that, I would ask the county
got a public
attorney, if we could re-advertise only that set of rates for bulk reclaim
You
and
could.
move forward with the remainder of the rate
Yeah.
structure to be implemented on 10/1.
You could. And,
Yes.
and before you take a vote here,
Need
this
a-
was a public hearing.
Public hearing.
So you're gonna need.
Oh, it is,
You need to take comments from the public.
I mean, it was.
Tax are sticking in.
Yeah.
If,
Are we at the
do
time
we,
of
Mr.
public
Chairman,
comments, sir?
do we have to re-advertise if we're not increasing the rates? If we're leaving the rates where they are at, we're not increasing it. So
Yeah, we
do we
are.
have to,
We're gonna show a lower rate.
We
for
would
golf
leave the,
course.
make sure I understand.
I'm sorry, are you with the staff? No, ma'am, I'm sorry, but what, are you with
You need to
staff
sit
or?
down.
Okay, yeah, public hearing's over, yeah. I thought you were with them. I was
No,
confused.
this is,
No, we didn't
we're still
take
in a
any
public
public
hearing.
we didn't.
Yeah, we
close
didn't public comment. So,
You can't take a motion without taking.
No, it said afterwards, there's public comment, it's right now. I thought you were staff. I'm like, you trying to get to the microphone?
I got what you're asking for. Go with our recommendation on everything but the golf course races, hold the golf course rate as they are in 2020, which effectively makes them 70% subsidy,
Okay.
right?
Good.
Make sure I understand that right.
That's,
Is that
that's,
you
well, that's
got?
what I said, but just
And where
indirect
are
a
you
different
gonna
way.
get the money to do that subsidy?
Basically, it sounds like that's in the model itself, the 80% to 70% is effectively a rounding error, if I kind
Oh.
of perlate in the
Okay.
model. That,
So
that
it-
small
Yeah, I'm
adjustment.
okay with that.
So
Correct.
if no other rates are going up to meet this one, you should be able to drop, because you're charging them less, you should be able to drop it based on the advertising that's already been done.
Good.
Because it
Excellent.
wouldn't change the current rate.
Because it
Call the
wouldn't change the
question.
current rate.
Yep.
Need the motion repeated. There was an issue with power
Can't call
outage.
the question until you have a public hearing.
Yeah.
Let's have a public
There
hearing.
should, the
All right,
motion
public
shouldn't
chair.
have been.
So-
Is there anyone here to speak to this item?
Mr. Chair,
You're speaking to the item as public comment.
My name is Barbara Kennedy, and I live in Heritage Pines.
Okay.
We are on reclaimed water. We have maintained villages and self-maintained villages. The self-maintained pay the basic rate, the monthly rate. We pay per gallon per 1,000 gallons, as does the golf course. It's killing us because the rates keep going up and up and up. And our bills range between $800 a month and $1,200 a month. Now, if you implement, my question is, if you implement what you're considering, what I think I understand you're considering for the golf courses, will that apply to my bulk rate bill also?
Y'all?
I believe the bulk rates that were, golf courses are typically the the storage without storage. These villages in Heritage Pines actually are utilizing system pressure, so it is at a higher rate.
Yeah.
And we're currently, I thought it was close to 70 cents.
It's 70, it's 68 going up, I'm sure.
Let me confer with our rate consultant for just 1 second here to make sure my understanding is correct. But we're talking the bulk rates. If we do a 70% cost recovery is across the board for bulk rates, whether it's pressurized or non-pressurized, correct? In which case, then we would hold at the 70% level, as you've said. So we would not be doing the increase that.
Not doing the increase, and would that be a decrease for us? I'm only half,
Oh,
partially understanding what's going on here.
Okay.
There's a lot bouncing
Mr.
back,
Chairman?
back and forth, and I'm trying to get a grasp on it. You have spoken with Alan Lowe.
Be the same rate. It
It
wouldn't go
would
up.
be the same rate.
You'd be the
For-
same
for
rate as
next
you are
year.
now.
Right.
But after that, could be
Well, then
slammed.
they're pegged to the 3.5%, or are we holding that for 4 years? What was your assumption, Stantec? So the assumption is that we would hold the bulk rates at 70% recovery and then index at the 3.5% annually, just like we're doing currently. So.
Help that, yeah, help me out.
Adjust for inflation. So the numbers right now currently proposed are 1.5% for water, 3.5% for sewer, and reclaim. So our costs increase every year in order to operate the system. So we will not do the jump to 80%, which is what we're talking about. We would hold it at 70% recovery, and then they're indexed according to our cost, which is 3.5%. So they will go up 3.5% every year. Versus the 3.5% plus whatever was proposed as part of the normalization to get to 80%.
So this year they're flat, next year they go up 3.5%, and thereafter.
Yes, sir.
So you avoid a 2.9%?
Justin, Mike, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Madam Clerk, no problem. Yeah, so that effectively, by holding the rate, avoids a 2.9% increase on that rate right now. And then, like Mike said, it will index along with the rest of the plan. Because if you don't, right, then your cost recovery will that gap will dramatically widen over the remainder of the rate period.
So this is just for the 1 year?
It would freeze the rate increase, and so there would be no increase on those rates
Right.
this year, but then the following year, right?
For 2022, you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am. It would index along with the rest of
With the rest
reclaim and
of the
wastewater
product.
rates, yes, which would be 3.5%.
Well, we'll
In-
take whatever we
In
can.
October 22.
Yes, sir.
In October 22.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So as of October 21, your rate would not change under this proposal.
Correct.
Okay, is anyone else to speak to this item?
Thank you.
Seeing no one?
Mr. Chair,
You need a repeat of the
I do need a
motion?
repeat of the motion. Thank you.
Chairman? Yes, okay.
Are you going to repeat the motion?
I have a question.
What's the question?
At what point would be the break-even analysis for them to convert from the 72 cents of us storing to them being self-storage? So they can get the lower 36 cents?
So currently,
That would require a capital investment on their part if they don't have the facility. So it would be very specific to whatever it is that they're doing. So that analysis would be a project-type analysis.
Do we know the average cost for them to install that? Or a capital
In my
project?
past experience with projects here with the county, definitely 7 figures.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to restate Commissioner Starkey's motion. She had to step out for a second.
Okay.
Wasn't it,
Mike, thank you.
No.
This is my motion.
wasn't it Commissioner Mariano's motion?
Oh, was it? I thought it was hers. I don't know.
Commissioner Mariano, how about you restating the motion?
I seconded it. I don't know, Commissioner Stark.
hey, you got the AC
seconded it.
working.
right,
You got the AC working, we appreciate that.
We don't have to open the
All
door
right,
and let the
Commissioner
cool air back
Mariano,
in.
All right, so
restate your motion.
The motion is to accept staff's recommendation with the exception of the bulk rate going from an 80% recovery rate to a 70% recovery rate, which keeps the rates the same for this current year.
And second.
All right.
And she seconded it. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed
It stayed the
5-0.
same. It's-
Thank you.
You almost have no motion if you're here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move back to regular items. And
Here,
we're going back to
Good job, team. You can.
R78.
Mr. Chair, you know, just looking at the time, and I kind of think there'll be some miscellaneous business that needs to be dealt with. It's okay with us if you'd like for us to bring back 78 and 79 at the next board meeting.
Sounds great.
Dade City, because
In Dade
don't add
City.
any more to
It would-
28, because I'm leaving early.
Right, it'd be on the 15th in Dade City. If it's a pleasure of the board, we can bring those two back in Dade
How's the
City,
board feel?
then go straight to
You
miscellaneous
could
business.
do one of them,
I
because I'm
motion
here, I got a
to
meeting at 5:30 right here in this room, so.
Not in this room.
Yeah,
Not if we're still here.
P-PAC is,
No, I'm-
oh, no, we're upstairs, never mind.
Okay, we'll just
Not in here.
continue those two items and bring them back on.
Yeah, we'll bring them
next
back on the
meeting. Dade
15th of
City.
September. Yes, sir,
Okay,
as regular items.
All
Thank
right.
you. Then you go to miscellaneous business.
miscellaneous, Mr. Moore.
I'm going to be quick. Just want to go over some numbers from tourism real quick. We looked at comparisons of occupancy rates for January through June of '21. Pasco County's occupancy rate was higher than both Hillsborough and Pinellas counties, and over the state of Florida's occupancy rate for that time period. So congratulations again to the DMO team. Pasco's occupancy rate from January through June was 76.4%. Hillsborough's was 64.1%. I know, pretty incredible, right? Pinellas was 73.7%. State of Florida's average was 65.3%. So again, great job to our DMO. And let's be honest, we know why those numbers are why they are, because of the changes we've made as a team, along with our DMO, when it comes to being Florida Sports Coast. All the tournaments that came in during that time across the county, that's what generated the room nights. That's what brought us over the edge. So just wanted to put those numbers out for you guys, and that's all I got.
That's
Sadly,
it?
I have a lot.
All right, oh, no. You're limited to
We'll
one and a
start
half.
with my pictures of the Amazon in Bexley. I knew that would get someone's attention.
That was quick, yeah.
So we have some design standards for large, big box, and it left out these kind of buildings. I guess we weren't anticipating these kind of buildings. And so I want to make recommendations that that the details that we require on large-scale commercial retail buildings and large-scale commercial retail development projects do not have unbroken blank walls and have the architectural details that don't give us these. This is really not a good thing for the neighborhood. I think I have Mr. Carbala speak to it, because he drives by it every day. And we've got more of these coming. And I have been working with the developer of the next one. It's not the same one that did this one. And while it's beautifully built, I would say we can do better. And they will do better if we ask them to, because I've seen it in other counties. Also, the landscaping on this one, yeah, is a real problem for me. I've mentioned that here before. If you go back to the picture before, no, the first one, that is not enough to go against that big wall. That is just not enough. And, I mean, one tree for every 60 feet, I think, is what we have going on there. So I definitely want to see us do better. But I would like this board to ask our staff to make some changes to the special development standards for these kind of buildings as well. So what does that entail over there? Is that a very big ask, or is that something that can be in the next update? Because we have one of these coming on State Road 54 in a very prime location. I've done all I can in my district to encourage them to put in some architectural details, but we can't make them.
So, Victoria Pitos, Planning and Development. So we have the big box ordinance in place. I think that's 1102, section 1102 of the Land Development Code.
Yeah, 1102.1.
Yeah, so there's a model there to follow to address some of the architectural pieces to distribution centers, such as this building. And I think also the big box ordinance does talk about the type of foundation landscaping that can go along the large retail users. There's a model there as well that we can extrapolate and think about how we want to address these types of distribution centers as well. It's not going to be part of the next round of amendments, as those are coming up soon enough. However, we could take a look at that and potentially add a section into 1102 that addresses distribution centers.
Yeah, and is there anything else that we should clump into there and not is it only distribution centers? I don't want to make sure, I want to make sure we're catching it all. What else?
Right, so in terms of other things that we would want to think about, a lot of these distribution centers are taking advantage of some of the industrial policies that we have in place. So that's something to balance as it relates to how we approach the additional landscaping and architectural requirements associated for these types of industrial users.
Okay, well, does everyone agree that we need to fix this? Okay, good. That's number one. Thank you.
Commissioner, while I support the way the planning director is saying he wants to handle this, which is a code amendment, if you know that a particular user is coming in an MPUD, the MPUD could have those regulations in it as well.
Does that site, the site that we're talking about, 54, is that an MPUD?
Most of these types of developments are coming in as MPUDs. So the county attorney is correct. We could also deal with them on a case-by-case through the MPUDs.
I would prefer to handle it the way you've suggested, as it overall, so that everybody knows the rules coming in. But
Yes.
if there are MPUDs in process that have these types of uses, that should be something that the planner that is reviewing them considers before you get that code amendment in place, is what I'm
Well,
suggesting.
we would like the planners to know that we want to see better buildings. Yeah, so that you can start dealing with that in your meetings, not in my meetings.
Madam Chair?
Does that work?
Works.
But we also want him to fix the code, but until then.
Right, and so let me just try to throw an idea out there until the code gets fixed. Do we allow them to apply for the landscaping grant, so they don't have to bear the cost, but they can still improve the facility until the code changes?
They have plenty of dough to
Okay.
put in some trees.
You're good, I'm good.
I want to
I'm
use
just
that
trying to-
landscaping money for old businesses
Okay.
to bring it up.
All right.
But these guys will put the trees in. Yes.
Ms. Chair, okay. So again, when I traveled out of the state and I was in Connecticut and Stamford, driving down the main road from Stamford to downtown Stamford, on the right, you have Nestle, and on the left, you have Synchrony. You would not be able to tell that there were these big box stores because it is all trees in the front. You have to turn off those roads. And then even Pepsi in Terrytown, New York, you have to turn off the main road, go up this windy turn to get up to the building at the top of the hill, but it is all blocked off by trees and
look what we did.
nice scenery. So I don't see why there wouldn't be enough buffering here to make it look just as nice as up there.
Agreed. Okay. Okay, so I did that one. I'm gonna save my hard ones for later. Green Key, well, we kind of talked about that, and I would like us to find a way to fix that road and make it more attractive out to our park. And I did get word from some folks in development that they had some staff that were bucking them doing rear-loaded designs, and I don't think that's what this county wants. We want rear-loaded designs, so I want to make sure, and I talked to the administrator about this, and I hope that's been taken care of. We encourage rear-loaded designs, but something that I had in a conversation today with someone who was in a planning meeting was that they were concerned about, well, the alleys have to be wide enough for emergency vehicles. No. Emergency vehicles can use the front road just like in every other development. So don't put more burden on a rear-loaded design and say it has to fit emergency vehicles, because they can use the front door. They don't have to come in the alley if there's a problem. And so I don't think that's the right way to be. dealing with alleys. If there's an issue where service vehicles need to get to both sides of houses, then every house should have roads on both sides of the houses. So I think you're penalizing a rear-loaded house, personally. Today, we approved a development with 40-foot, with all, I think it was 250 40-foot wide lots. I don't want to approve any more developments with only 40-foot lots unless it's a special reason. I think we need to start mixing those up, or we're gonna have a lot of holiday again. I've talked to some of our folks in the development community, and they agree with me that we should be asking for a mix of 40, 50, 60 product, even if it's the same house, just, or, put a little more features on it, but widen those, have a mixture and not have every single one cookie cutter the same. But I'm not going to approve any more. I'm not going to be okay with any more only 40-foot lots. I had someone come in and want to do 800 40-foot lots. Seriously. No.
We need to just move to 50 and above.
I don't mind a 40-foot lot well, when, I don't want to mow grass, and in 10 years, I won't be mowing grass, but in some instances, a 40-foot lot's okay, but you can't have a whole development of 40-foot lots. I think that's worse than the apartments, personally. Okay, two more. Oh, wait, I sent you a picture of, I don't remember what it was. What did I send
It was
you?
a road section. I'm not sure where.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to bring this back, because I was going to stop the meeting today and deal with this, but we're going to bring this back. This is the road section of VOPH. What's wrong with that TV? Not working?
That power went in.
It's also the, the road section for Connected City.
Yep.
And looking at this, and I was texting out last night about this to many of our development folks, that I was shocked to see 2 5-foot sidewalks on either side of the road when you have 25, 26, 36, 41 feet, and you got a 5-foot sidewalk. So talk to David, and the way I'd like to deal with this is to bring it back and say one of those sidewalks has to be 8 feet. And there's plenty of room in there to get that in there. But you don't want kids riding their bikes around the villages of Pasadena Hills in the street.
Commissioner, there's an explanation.
Yeah, but Brad Tippin, Planning and Development. Just to be clear, when you see these typicals that have the letters AA next to them, that's the initial phase of this road. That's when it's not anticipated to have a large amount of traffic. The section that's labeled 70BB or 70CC in these master plans shows those expanded trails, and those trails off out of traffic, separated, and much more of what you're thinking of. And that's in the ultimate plans for both of these areas.
Okay, well, I do want to see the trail network for VOPH, but Pat Gassaway, who lives in Connected City, said what he sees is the little ones right on the 5-foot sidewalk with the walkers, and the older kids are in the street. So that's not what we want, I don't think. I don't understand why one of those sidewalks can't be wide enough for young kids to ride their bikes off of the street. I love that they have the golf cart lanes. I think that's great, but no one wants their kid riding the street. So maybe I need to see what you're talking about, but Joel too was fine with amending that.
Yeah, and anytime if you'd like to set up a time, I'll come to your office and I'll sit down with the master railway plan and we can talk about some of those things and how that works. They're kind of unique in those areas, the way they're designed.
Okay.
But I'd be happy to talk about that.
Okay.
Commissioner Starkey? Commissioner Starkey?
Not your office here.
My office is his office.
Commissioner Starkey?
Yes.
Can I add a little bit to that?
Yeah.
All right. So, and if you look at the roadway, as wide as it is right now, it fits the 2 cars, and on both sides, you get those smaller lanes. I think it'd be a much better design to have it on both sides, skip the roadway, bike trail, or golf cart path, just make it, even if you had to go 9 or 10 feet wide, it won't cost them any more money to go do it, especially if you're doing it asphalt, and they could run the strips on both sides. It'd be safer, better, and you could have golf carts and bikes going together, or
Put them
people.
both on the same side?
And go like, no, but make both sides like 9 foot. Get rid of the center part in the roadway, so it's safer. Now everybody's off the road, whether it be a golf cart or whatever. Peachtree City, they have everybody on the side. And they even have cutting through houses, cul-de-sacs. But if you put it all on the side, everybody's got room to go through.
Well, I'm not sure what you're saying, but this is already approved and built in Connected City,
All right, so let me.
in many places.
All right, so let me just start, for other developments, just keep the 2 roadway sections where the white lines are next to the cars. Take away the asphalt that's near the curb and gutter on both sides. And instead, just take your 5-foot sidewalk and make it like a 9-foot path on both sides.
Well, I appreciate what you're trying to do, and that's what we do in a lot of places, like State Road 56 is like that, but they don't want golf carts on those paths. And that's why they have them on the road,
And they're-
correct?
They're context-specific, too.
And-
Let's don't take that, I mean, these need to be context-specific as well. You know, because if you put a 10 or 12-foot concrete path in somebody's front, you know, now that you're starting to impact, you know, marketing and some other stuff. So there is a way to do that, but it needs to be site-specific design with a trail plan thought out, and there is one for VOPH that we can share,
Yeah.
Commissioner, that's been there, and one for Connected City. And so it's really site-specific context design. It's really hard to do a blanket, do the whole county like this, because you really need to be site-specific context design that works with the marketing plan the developer wants to use with the product.
Yeah, but I want to understand when it's okay to dump a little kid into the street here. So I'm anxious to look at that
Commissioner
map.
Starkey.
That's a great idea. I can speak with you as well, and today, hopefully, when I get back to the office, assuming all the computers are up and running, I can send you the final stage phase of this. It actually shows what you're talking about. So you'll be able to kind of see that that's ultimately where it goes. It's just at this early stage, there's not enough trips on the road. Certain things are allowed to share the roadway under those lower congestion situations. So that's kind of why it's like that. That's just the first of 3 phases for that one.
And Commissioner Starkey, what concerns me is on State Road 54, when you have a pregnant woman pushing a stroller with children in the middle of the road on these side of the road pathways. So I would like to see them
I don't ever
not
use the bike lanes
in
on
the
the
middle
side
of
of
the
the
road.
highway. Okay, two more things. So I want to take you back to a time when only Commissioner Mariano and I were here, and Steinsnyder, Goldstein, and Kathy's gone. So we had, I don't know if I have any maps on this, but can you just pull up Google Earth and do the Oaks at Riverside? So we had a strange thing come in where we had a developer who had a one site left inside a development, and he had all the approvals that he needed except a site plan, and it was zoned MF1. And Jack, you'll remember this. And the market was in a recession, and so rather than build townhomes, he was coming in to build apartments. And it was a really bad place to put a rental community inside this existing community that was built in a very strange way. It's what's called a sub-DRI. We don't have those anymore. And a lot of the roads into this parcel were blocked by my predecessor, Commissioner Hildebrand. Sadly, we don't do these anymore for the most part. We don't block roads because you end up with the problem that we have here. But this is the property up here along Amazon. And we have one spite strip over here connecting it to Southern Oaks, which the person who owns it said he would give it to the county so we can go ahead and connect those roads. So this property came through, and our attorneys told us we had to approve it by law because he had everything that he needed. All we had to approve was the site plan. We had
You didn't even have to do that,
Yeah, we didn't.
Commissioner. No. it was appealed to you. The
Yeah,
site
from
plan was an
planning.
administrative approval that was appealed to you.
Yeah.
And you wanted to overturn it.
Yeah, so, well, no,
Well, not you,
I was
but,
following the
that
law.
that was the issue, was whether it was going to be overturned.
100% on following the law. So we had a very contentious hearing. We had a group that said we are 5,535 strong of the community in here, and they didn't want to have 268, I think it was, apartments here. And although there is multifamily all around it. And so, but we had to approve it, but 2 of us voted to approve it, and 3 voted not to approve it, and then they were personally sued. And it was brought back to us by one of the ones who voted no, realizing that they had to vote yes, and we approved it, but immediately I asked the development attorney if their client would consider selling it to the county if the residents were willing to buy it. So I'm just giving you some of the history. So we had a big meeting here with the leaders of the HOAs from the community, and we said, you're either going to have apartments, or or we can do an MSBU and you can buy it for your own personal park. And they said, we want to have the MSBU. So this county did do an MSBU. I think it's $135 a year for 15 years for 1,700 homes in the community. But then we had a legislator who thought he might be able to get some state money to buy this. And so for a couple years, he tried that, and it was vetoed because this is not state's interest to stop an apartment complex in here. So, we have never enacted that MSBU. I've took the administrator by here. I've taken Keith here numerous times, say, what about a county park? And he's like, no,
So-
it doesn't work for a county park.
One small correction. The MSBU is enacted.
Right.
You haven't levied any
We haven't,
assessments. on
right,
that.
we have an MSBU, we just haven't levied. So, it's been sitting there. It's been sitting there, and,
What's it called again?
Oaks at Riverside.
Oaks.
Right. So, knowing that we have the Gulf Harbors MSBU coming up, and that there are some people in the county, there's interest in our MSBUs, they all need to be treated the same, just as we today approved, did some of the other MSBUs. So, I had some of the, so I went to talked to our attorneys, what do we do with this property? And it was suggested go talk to Senator Fasano, who was involved in this before. So I went to talk to Mike, and he's like, yeah, no, I understand, as long as it's not apartments. And a lot of the people that spoke, when they looked at their lots and made the decision to purchase, this was zoned MF1, and they saw that, but they thought it was going to be condos, or something like what's in Heritage Lakes, not apartments. So he said, I would suggest you talk to the Heritage Lakes HOA. So I had, I think, 5 members of the Heritage Lakes HOA, and turns out one of my girlfriends is on the Riverside HOA. So we had a meeting here, and we went over everything that I just told you, and they remembered the meeting. I'm not sure if Jessica did, but asked, do you want the MSBU, or would you like us to surplus it? And none of them wanted, at that meeting, they did not want to have to, they did not want us to fund or the MSBU. So real estate has looked at this property, and we have come up with a plan to restrict it through deed restrictions. I was saying rezone it, but that's not right, right? Yeah, no, we're working on it. To deed restrict it so that it has to be someone buying something, and take the units down from 228 or 38 or 48. We made a stab at it at 175 to see, to see where that number got us, and we're at 4.2 million. So we paid $3 million for it. So I think we need to at least get 3 million out if we surplus it. I think there's room to still down, am I saying, is down zoning not the right word? Deed restrict it to a lesser number?
It could be downzoned, it could be deed restricted, it could be downplanned.
Yeah, whatever the right
You-
term is.
You just want to make sure that at the end of the day, when you sell it, it doesn't come back as something
Right.
you don't want there.
So we could get it down. I think we just need to at least get it down to $3 million, what we paid for it. That wouldn't be fair to the taxpayers if we didn't. One of the thoughts to use the revenue from this property is that, I'm not gonna say where, we have an opportunity to purchase some land for a boat ramp. And it's one of the last piece of properties, if not the last, to put in a boat ramp. And it's, you know, if this board chooses, because this is general revenue money, but if this board chooses, we can maybe, but either way, if we surplus this, if this board chooses, we could get that property. If the residents have told me they may want to go back to the MSBU, and so even if we go to MSBU, we can still use that revenue if we want to get this property. That's the last piece that there are other people looking at it, so I don't think we have a lot of time to waste. The question here is, we already have an MSBU in place. I don't want to go back to what we did in Gulf Harbors. But I think we need to hear from the community, and I don't know if one of the attorneys has a good idea on how to do it. We could have the HOA leaders come in and ask lay out the facts, MSBU or park. The issue is, it's everybody. It's got to be all the 1,700 homes, which are different communities around the park. So it's not an easy thing, but I just wanted to lay that out for you, that that's coming. Commissioner.
And I'd like to jump in. I remember that one, Vol.
Yeah, that was awful.
And I think you're on a good path. I think let's go take a look. And there may be a couple of different options. I think if they hear something, fee simple so people own it, that's good. I think if the height's lower, that's also good. So whatever number it gets you, and you may go a couple of different ways, whether it be townhomes or single-family homes, maybe set it for both ways, and then whatever the market bears to bring us the $3 million, and, you know, let it go. Once we take the offers, we can take a look at it and see which looks best for us.
Yeah, one of the things that we tossed around at that HOA meeting was that, you know what, if they build a clubhouse and a pool and a tennis court, it could be to the developer's advantage to open it up to anyone who lives in this area to become a member, you know, for a fee, and then they get some of the amenities that a normal neighborhood gets these days that is a DRI or a CDD, because they have nothing. They have nothing. They don't have a park. They don't have anything. What they have in here, and you can see the tracks, they have
Okay.
people
Commissioner
four-wheeling.
Starkey.
They have homeless people, and they have dumping.
Through
Yeah.
district, she'd like to weigh in on.
Yeah, yeah.
I wasn't sure if I should wait till my turn, but I am very involved with this community. I have met with several citizens in that neighborhood. I have gone to the community, the 5 HOAs 2 Fridays ago. They would like to move forward with the MSBU and be assessed the levies. And I was going to make a motion, but I guess should I make it now or later? But so the citizens are very involved, and they have been reaching out to me.
So some want it and some don't. But if
You have to be a public hearing, you have to bring it back.
Correct.
well, it does, okay.
Yeah, so I've tried to, based on conversations, tried to weigh this out. I mean, it wouldn't officially be a public hearing, but I think you probably want to do something that looks and tastes and smells like a public hearing. Because otherwise, if either commissioner decides to go ahead
I
and
don't care
work
whichever way.
and,
Okay.
and workshop it with them and bring it back, I think they need to,
If I
They
make my
need to-
motion that we just,
well,
don't need a
yeah, I
motion,
mean, if,
Just go meet with them.
Well, if
Well,
she's met with all of them.
I did meet with all of them, so I was gonna make a motion today to have the county administrator bring forward the Oaks at Riverside property back as an agenda item and update the board on moving forward with the MSBU that was set up in 2014 and have community input.
You don't need a
so
motion for that,
we
just
would
give
put it,
direction.
we would put it,
2014.
well, as long as the rest of the board agrees with that direction, that's fine.
We're not voting, I mean, we'll make a decision when that time comes.
But they would like to move forward being levied
Can
with
have
the
the discussion.
taxes. But I would like to hear everyone's input, because I met with the five main HOAs.
I personally think we need to take the input of the HOA and leave it there.
So the HOAs, the 5 of them that day, I have a list of all of them that came to the meeting. There was probably 20 of them there. It was the head HOAs. And they all, every single one of them that was at that board meeting that evening, said they were in favor of moving forward with being assessed the levy.
Well,
If you just want to take public input from the HOA leaders,
yeah.
then let's set it up as a workshop at the end of the agenda and have them come in and you can talk to them, and make a decision from there.
That good?
Can I share with all of the commissioners? I had the list of everyone sign in that night. I don't know if we all want to have that list of everyone that was at that meeting that said they were in favor of the,
That's probably a sunshine.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
That's
No.
why I'm saying it in public.
Let them come in.
Yeah.
Here, let us hear from them. I don't know if I don't think we can, Mr. Steinsteiner, really
Yeah,
share
so-
information from a meeting that one of us wasn't at. I don't know. Yes, your.
Well, it was just the main leaders and HOA members.
I meant materials, but I could be wrong.
All right, so I think that's a good idea. Let's just have, even if they want to just send a letter.
Okay. And have them all sign it again? Well, basically
Just send a
what,
letter from each HOA. If they are in agreement and don't need a meeting, then we don't need a meeting.
okay.
If that's done.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So Commissioner Fitzpatrick, when you talked with them, did you go over like the options of like either having single-family homes, what it might bring for a price, townhomes, fee simple, what it might bring for a price?
They were all not in favor of the townhomes or multifamilies. They wanted to continue with the natural environment and the park. And I did speak to Senator Mike Fasano, and I did speak with Commissioner Wells about this project and how, what was the original agreement was, and the communities did want to move forward, keeping it a natural environment and turning it into a park.
So just to be sure, this is their park, and they have to pay for all the maintenance and fencing and anything that happens. It's not a county park.
They would want to take ownership of the property after the MSBU was set up.
Okay. What do you think, Dan?
Well, that's where I think we need more input.
David, I don't know if your mic is working.
How long you been with us?
I think you have to hold it while you talk.
Can you hear me now?
No?
Same.
The button on the back. There we go.
Okay. So the $135 that you quoted before
Mhm.
for the MSBU is only to pay for the acquisition
Right.
cost for the land. It
Right,
does not
for
cover
15
any
years.
costs
Yeah.
of maintaining the property. And my understanding is that from Keith Wiley is he has no desire to
Right.
maintain this property or make it a park. So if you're looking to move forward with the MSBU for a park, you probably would have to add some additional money to that assessment to cover the maintenance costs of a park. Otherwise, it would be in its natural state, in its current natural state.
No maintenance.
So they would actually be charged the 3.225 million, which would be divided over the 15 years, which gives it $138 a year. And that moving forward, they have discussed amongst themselves about possible wilderness parks that continue with it being a wilderness park.
That's still gonna take some maintenance cost to maintain that.
Well, they would take over the maintenance.
So we can,
Because I asked them specifically about taking over the maintenance, and are they able to afford the maintenance? And they're like, no, we want to take over the maintenance.
Yeah, I don't think the maintenance will be that much, you know, with 1,700 houses. I think for what we're doing at Gulf Harbors, it's $10 to $15 a year per, and so even if it's $25 a year for them, I don't know if they're, you know, gonna mow it or whatever. It is in its natural state, it's just the chasing out the bad stuff that happens there. If they want amenities, they can always come back and add it, right?
Right, I think, you know, I haven't heard from everybody on the dais, but if everybody is, you know, concurs with the district commissioner's approach, we can take that and develop something for some options to bring back to you, either in a regular item that has the HOAs present or something. I will say, this won't go into effect until the fiscal '23 budget, because you just approved the other MSBU's today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're done for this fiscal year. So we have effectively 12 months to get it in place and for you to set the rate.
Well, not really, because you have till December 31st of this year to notify the tax collector and the property appraiser that you're going to be bringing it up for next October. But
Okay.
you've missed this year.
All right.
That's clear.
Well, I'm glad something, you know, whatever it is, I'm glad something's moving forward on this, so.
Thank you.
And what do you think about exploring taking the funds from this and working towards the boat ramp purchase? I cannot say where it is because we don't want the price of the land to go up. So, because Keith will bring that to us in a future board meeting as they're negotiating.
Just bring me.
And have them meet with us.
I would like them to bring it forward.
Let's bring it back.
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah.
beat this.
Okay.
dead horse to death.
And I
Let's
did
bring it
talk
back.
to Commissioner Wells, yeah, and he's all in on, whatever his name is, Wells. What's his title?
Appraiser?
Yeah, him. So he's all on board with whichever way we go with this and what I want to do, because, you know, he's all for another boat ramp. Okay, lastly, as you know, I chair the international, whatever we call ourselves, the International Economic Development Council at the PEDC, and of course, at NACO. And we have a trip coming up where we're taking some local businesses to Germany and Switzerland in end of September, November, and we're also doing an AmSkills workforce trip alongside that. As you know, I've done 7 or 8 of those. We have plans with that one to bring some people at the state level from Tallahassee along with us to learn about apprenticeships. So I will be not here for that first meeting in November. And apparently this year we have only 1 meeting in November. So normally we do reorganization at I think the second meeting in November, but in talking with the administrator and the county attorney, we see no issues in seeing if you guys don't mind moving reorganization like we did last year to the first meeting in December.
Second?
Okay. That's it.
Are you sure?
Well, I had Fairway Springs in here, but I'm not going to talk about it.
Or say if you kept talking, you're going to be late for your own
It's her
meeting.
district.
Your own meeting in here, so. Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Okay. So I was going to say thank you to Pat Phillips. I did have citizens reach out to me about the trucks being parked out at Magnolia Valley, and thank you to Mr. Mike Carbala for following up with that. I know we have signs, and the citizens are happier now. I did attend, I want to say it correctly, the Rosalie Rendu project, and it is when we teamed up with St. Vincent de Paul Cares of Pasco. They have provided permanent housing for 171 households, and they have an 85% positivity rate for not going back to homelessness. And they've also serviced 267 households in the past 9 months. So thank you, I know Kathy Pearson is not here, but thank you to her team for helping with that project as well. And, oh, you knocked off half my stuff. Next, I would like to say I was also able to be in attendance with when Governor DeSantis came with Commissioner Mariano and Commissioner Starkey. I think it's very important that we also help raise awareness. And he came in and he was talking about the monoclonal antibody vaccines at the Mike Fasano Hurricane Shelter. And I think it's very important that people know they can go to the Mike Fasano Hurricane Shelter 7 days a week, 9 to 5. So this, as soon as when you find out that you have tested positive for COVID-19, I think it's very important that you know that you can go to the Mike Fasano Hurricane Shelter 7 days a week, 9 to 5. They can service 300 patients a day. And with the Regeneron, it should be able to kick your symptoms within 24 hours with COVID. So I would like to let as many people know about everything happening at the Mike Fasano Hurricane Shelter. And the website is patientportalfl.com. Thank you. So as you can see, you can go straight to the patient portal, sign up, and it's always, I'm going to leave it at that. So thank you very much. And lastly, if I can just have an update in the next month with the airport protection plan, I would just like to see where we are on, Mr. Pitos was working on the airport protection plan. If I can have an update on where we are with that. I know we've been working on that for several months.
Good afternoon again. Nectarios Pitos, Planning and Development. The Airport Zoning Commission met yesterday and discussed amendments to the comprehensive plan where they made a positive recommendation to forward to the local planning agency that will hear those amendments to the comprehensive plan on Thursday of this week. And then those amendments to the comprehensive plan will track together with the property rights element updates that we're bringing to the LPA on Thursday and to upcoming board meetings in September and in October.
Thank you. And do we have someone to represent each of the airports, including Hidden Lakes?
Hidden Lakes is not on the Airport Zoning Commission, although they were present at the meeting yesterday and were able to participate in any discussions.
I would like for them to have a representative, as they do have an interlocal agreement with the county, so I think it's very important that they have input on this board.
I think that would require redoing the airport zoning commissions.
That's right. They're not a general aviation airport, which is why they didn't get a seat to begin with.
Yeah, correct. They're not public, but they do allow for a hospital and different transportations, and we do have that interlocal agreement with them. So I think they should have some input, and we should be protecting their airport as well.
We have it, or the sheriff has it?
I believe we have it, and Mr. Craig Laporte gave one to everyone in the folder that he provided when he was here that day.
The sheriff's office would have that.
It's either a public airport or it's not a public.
Right.
You can't
That may be,
mush it,
yeah,
something
I'm not
in
aware, but
between.
that doesn't mean we don't.
Yeah.
With the interlocal agreement, I was under the impression that it is, the minimum standards is to only have public use airports, but we can expand it to private use airport as well, especially since they do offer a lot of benefits to the community as well.
We'd have to look at it, but again, you've already had a meeting of the commission. They've already made their recommendation.
I have been asking for someone to be, from Hidden Lakes, to be a representative on this board since for the past several months.
I think the Airport Zoning Commission, as a body, dates back a number of years, possibly to 2016, 2017.
We just added Spencer just recently, a few months ago, to represent
as a public use
Pilot Country and a couple others. And yes, I would like it to be expanded to the private use airport because we have that interlocal agreement and because they provide benefits to Pasco County. They allow emergency landing for local hospitals as well. And we should protect them, especially with Moffett coming in, that's going to be right down the road.
We can look into that and see if, what we would need to do to update the airport zoning commission and include an additional airport.
Okay.
So, thanks.
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you for everyone that was there when Governor DeSantis was there. Thank you to Governor DeSantis. I think it was extremely important. We have he's providing 15 locations around the state, and I am very excited to have a location in Pasco County where people can go and get the treatment that is known to work. Thank you.
Thank you. So just like Catherine, take stuff off my list.
I'm sorry.
It's all good, no. Yeah, that monoclonal antibody treatment is a phenomenal thing. I think everyone should, if they get COVID, been exposed to COVID, it's a good treatment to go get. Regeneron is the name that we're using. And I thank the governor, and Kevin Guthrie was there. Our old emergency management director was there, and he's doing a great job for the governor as well. I'm very happy that the folks from Green Key came forward today. Didn't know they were coming, but they do have some issues, and I'm glad to see that we're going to take care of addressing them. And I do think we need to work closely with the city of Newport Richey coming up to study that stormwater situation, as well as to coordinate a paving assessment in that whole area. Now, they're not going to be able to do a paving assessment like us, but we need to get them to do some of their roads at the same time we're doing ours to make sure the drainage is going to be enhanced. And hopefully they'll be good with that. And hopefully with the county administrator and Sally's team, we can work with the sheriff's office to work on the homeless that are in that area to make sure that area does get trespassed, it does get cleaned up, and it may be even to the point to be so bad in there, which is pretty bad, that we even just get it cleaned up one way or the other. I'll just say that. I like the street light assessment program, which we can do along with the paving assessment program at the same time. Part of it may be city, part of it may be county, but it certainly would help the area. And let me ask about Philly Lane. We've seen emails go back and forth, and I've had everybody, I think, included Dan and Mike. The road there does go low. It's a basin that just the water's going to go there. No question about it. There's one access point that goes across. I don't even know if it could get to that point, but we need to at least try to do some pumping. I remember years ago we did it. The way we did it, we pumped it to one area. It was kind of up the hill, and it came back down the hill. If there's some temporary way or some better way we can go do it, I think I'd like to study it and go take a look at it. Dan, do you and Mike still, and Jeff as well, are you with the opinion that we can't go pump for those people, or we can at this point in time?
So my understanding with Philly Lane is that, you know, if there's road-related type flooding, and I can't recall, but let's just assume that it's our road and we maintain it, you know, the roads are passable. So I think the residents were concerned about flooding on their property, in which case we need to tread cautiously there, I guess would be what I would say. I mean, we can certainly look at it. Let me look at it. Let me come back with a coordinated response on Philly Lane so we can fully address the nuances that are going on out there.
Okay, I appreciate that. And on Beacon Woods Drive, the citizen came forward to speak on that. The place they put in the ground, it's a hassle. You took a 2-lane left turn on Beacon Woods Drive going south. Now it's down to 1. Traffic did a great job making the timing of the lights go better to give it more time to get the people out there. But it was very frustrating, and I sent an email earlier this week to staff saying, why isn't any work going on while this traffic impediment is still out there? I haven't heard anything back, I don't think. I had Sonia checking it, but I didn't see it as of lunch. We could follow up just to keep pushing along. I was happy to say that after I did send the email 2 days later, there were a couple of trucks out there at least doing something, but the next day there was no one. And lastly, I think we're doing a great job of many different things. One of the things that happened just a couple of weeks ago is I did, I'm sure the rest of the board did, an evaluation for Dan, for the trust. And Dan, I trust you. But I think it would be a good idea if we go back to what we did years ago, was to do an evaluation on the county administrator and the county attorney. Regional Planning Council does it every year. and I know Jeff has his old one that we used to have, I think it's good if we bring that back and let us do an evaluation as well.
I mean, I'll resend the board what I sent, I think about 18 months ago. So, I mean,
Okay.
it was a draft appraisal. I want to say it was about 18 months ago, maybe a little longer now. It was pre-COVID, that's all I remember.
Okay. Well, COVID affect a lot, but that's all
I have hard copies of the form that we used that I can give all the commissioners before the end of the meeting.
Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Biles?
Due to the time, I'll just mention, you probably got in your email, but we've now established a Pasco County city meeting for the west side cities.
Okay.
It's November 2nd at 10 a.m. at the new Starkey TLC.
I won't be here.
On the 2nd?
November 2nd?
Oh, no, that's, oh, yeah, I'm here.
Second.
Yeah.
I was going to say, they
I'm going.
confirmed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the next month.
Don't miss you.
No, when am I gone?
So-
Let me look at my calendar.
Anyway, just want to let you know, you should see that in your email. We'll start working agenda items with the west side cities on that, but November 2nd, 10 a.m., Starkey TLC.
Oh, I'm looking forward to going there.
That's all I have, Chair, tonight.
Germany?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I believe you all got emailed a memorandum that I was going to bring up in old business. And I'm going to butcher this name, but one of the manufacturers of opioids, Malling?
Yeah, I've been
Malring?
reading
Draught, it looks like, has filed for bankruptcy, as did Purdue. It's gone through the reorganization process. Outside counsel has told us, they sent us a letter just recently that said that they wished that we abstained from voting to approve that plan and basically let them continue to try and negotiate on their committees to get a better deal for member counties. So I would like to ask the board to direct the county attorney to follow that recommendation. We'll abstain from voting on the proposed plan and allow outside counsel to cast Pasco County's vote in accordance with the consortium's recommendation. In a bankruptcy, the rationale for this is, in a bankruptcy, you're going to get what you're going to get. And if they think they can get us a slightly better deal by holding out now, I think that's in the county's best interest, because either the bankruptcy judge is going to approve their plan or they're not. And we basically are not going to have any great deal of sway, but as a consortium, they will have sway.
So we'd be making
Okay. Sure.
be making a motion to approve the recommendation for board action?
Yes, please.
Got a motion?
That was my motion.
So moved.
Do you want me to say it again?
Second. Do I have a
Second.
second? I had a motion, but I don't want a
I didn't
second.
hear a motion.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. I wanted to provide some recognition for my team. We won the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award from the Government Finance Officers Association for the 10th consecutive year. So congratulations to my team, and 10 years consecutively. All this effort really is in the hands of Chris Metler in my office. So thank you, Chris Metler, and also thank you to Heather Grimes, who in recent years have also lent her abilities and talents to it as well. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. Also, we are in the process of doing our annual audit plan, and last year was the first year where we took in your comments from the board as well as from my team at the clerk's office as part of the risk assessment to determine what to audit. So you will see emails going into your inboxes. We are surveying from leads on up, including all of the elected officials here. If you would like for us to help in any way, please let us know. We will be happy to do that, and then we will be submitting the annual plan to the board on public record, so you'll be able to see that as well. And finally, I am not able to discern the budget amount for my office from what's been posted to the county website or what was submitted at the July 6th meeting. And I just want to confirm what the amount is that is going to be proposed for next year's budget for my office. I do have an email that was sent by an assistant county administrator to my chief. It says the amount is $5,960,999. I just want to know, is that the amount that I can rely on? Public hearings for the budget is coming up in September, and I need to plan accordingly. So how will I be able to know what the amount is?
I don't have it with me today, but we can get you that amount.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, we'll provide that for you. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
That's it? All right. All I have today, I noticed, we had resolutions today, and we have folks that are retiring and leaving for other reasons, like Jane, which we will miss, and all those that are going to be changing. They've been here, and they've made those sacrifices to make Pasco County a premier county, and we certainly appreciate all they've done, and we hope that all of our staff that remain here and continue working and strive to be as good as they are, because they're very good examples of what led Pasco County to be a premier county like it is. So I give them all the support in the world, and I appreciate all the support that all of our staff gives us. With that, we'll adjourn.
Thank you, sir.
I have 15 minutes.